Planning Commission on this wonderful Thursday evening on November 21st, 2024. So I guess the first thing to do is to, what is it?
Roll call.
Roll call?
Commissioner Light,
Present.
Commissioner Boswell,
Here.
Commissioner Craig,
Here?
Commissioner Gaddis,
Present.
Commissioner Conroy,
Here.
Commissioner Lamb,
Here.
Commissioner Hazeltine, Chairperson Hazeltine.
She'll be arriving here in about an hour. She's talking about traffic.
She's just hunkered down.
Pledge.
Indeed, pledge of allegiance. So we'll please rise and we'll make a pledge of allegiance. Yep. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Indeed. So next on our list is the to approve the order of agenda, I believe. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the order of agenda.
Second?
Chair,
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to change the order of the agenda.
And your motion would be?
And my motion would be to move J1 or J2 to the position of J1 before, right, the childcare issue, right? The public hearing for the childcare facility, and move that to the front of the agenda because we have people here who want to speak on that.
Okay, very well. Do we, so we have a substitute motion. Do we have a second for that substitute motion?
Second.
And then we vote on the second, I guess, or second vote on the substitute?
Second
So
first,
we vote on the substitute motion first.
Okay?
All in favor?
Which
Motion are we voting on?
We're voting on to move item J2 in the, to be
To
number
one.
one spot.
Okay,
Switch the spot.
So we're switching the order.
I got you.
Right.
What was the
and
other
just
motion?
the justification, because we have people here,
Accommodate people that are here.
accommodate the people that.
When did we start doing that?
Well,
Right
Anyway,
now.
We are so not like the city
We're about
council.
to
I'm
take a vote
sorry.
on it.
so
We're going to give it to you.
Okay, so can we all take a vote on these alternate substitute motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against? Ayes carry it. We will start with item J2. Let's see. And next, we have blue folders to receive for the meeting tonight. Have they been received? I believe with some public comment and then a list of.
Yes, you should have received a blue folder item with one comment letter on J2 and then revised resolutions on J1.
Very good. And can I get a motion to receive and file the blue
Motion to
folder
receive
items?
and file blue folder items. Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Next, we have consent calendar. Would anyone want to pull an item out of the consent calendar? Not hearing anything in favor, I will,
Motion to approve consent calendar.
Second?
all, everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion to approve consent calendar. We already did that. Okay, now next is on our list is public participation on non-agenda items. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on public agenda? I think I have a card, and you are Richard McQuillan. Very good, sir. Please come on down.
Good evening. I was here last month. I'm a little more prepared this month.
And please say your name so they can type your name in correctly.
Richard McQuillan, McQuillin. So good evening. I'm Rick McQuillan. I'm a Manhattan Beach resident and a fan of Redondo Beach. I'm in your city most days. I've had a career in software and web technologies, starting at Northrop right out of college. And I've worked at American Honda in Torrance, worked at Chevron and DirecTV and El Segundo. So I worked in other areas in LA and elsewhere, but I've lived and worked and loved the South Bay for 30 years, over 30 years. I'm a chamber member and an NRBBA member. Earlier this year, I started a technology project that I call Community Commerce. The idea is to elevate and strengthen and perpetuate relationships between residents and visitors with our local merchants. My general concept is that rather than customers placing products in online shopping carts and buying them and then going away, instead, customers share their goals and needs with merchants. Then merchants fulfill their goals and needs in a continuing process. By the way, if it sounds limited, I can explain how it has breadth and depth. I don't want to bore you right now. I should say I don't want to bore you too much right now. But it should benefit all the players, the merchants, customers. I want to pilot this on Artesia Boulevard because I see so much potential there. And right now, it's just me and my co-pilots and robots doing the core tech work on a lead-in budget to develop a demo and a pilot. And I want to have something tangible to show instead of words, which should be sometime next year. But I was at the Galleria in the Orange Spaces ribbon cutting Monday night, and I was surprised, kind of sad by what I saw because I hadn't been there for a while. The lights were low and at least half of the storefronts were closed, as I'm sure you know. So I just don't like that. And the need seems to be urgent. And I believe that this community commerce project I'm working on is an excellent fit for malls as well. So I just want to let you know who I am and what I'm doing and to begin to engage with you. I'll keep you posted as I'm doing now, and hopefully in future months I can come and talk. And if anybody wants to know more or wants to suggest people or avenues for me to engage with, please contact me at rick@mcqcorp.com. Again, I talked to Zane, I talked to Mickey, the NRBBA, Dominic, et cetera. So I know some of these people. I want to talk to Mr. Sharifi. But right now, people can help me shape my work because I'm still in a development on this, and I'm happy to hear ideas. It's potentially a little local tech company. And what's kind of happening right now is that AI may be driving tech down from global systems to communities like ours, which is kind of the approach that I'm taking. So we can have our own systems. And soon I'll need more direct involvement in areas of like visual design, technology, marketing, social media, et cetera. And I want to work with local people. I'm a local South Bay person. So maybe we can have some fun and improve our community and tax revenues. And that's what I'm trying to do, and I wanted to let you know that. And just one more little thing. I'm from the corporate and business world, and so I'm like a babe in the woods here in local government, and I need help. But I was doing a little research on loss of city tax revenues to online shopping.
Time.
And I'm sorry,
Motion to extend?
can I just have 10
Second.
seconds?
Motion to extend?
Thank you.
Good.
After a while, I just asked GPT flat out, what can be done to counter this loss? And it offered a few suggestions, and the first one was to create a local e-commerce marketplace. The concept is to develop an online platform exclusively for Redondo Beach retailers similar to a localized Amazon, where residents can shop from multiple local stores in one place. So that's what ChatGPT says. It's cute, it's conventional. Don't ever change GPT. But I found it interesting that it suggested something very similar to what I'm working on. So that's all. Thanks for listening. Yes.
You mind if I ask you a question?
You bet.
Could you give an example of what you have in mind to get a better understanding of how this works or
I'm going
or
to
even
tell
just
you,
what it is?
I'm going to tell you more in the future about the ideas. Again, it's an elevation of e-commerce, and I'm not really prepared to talk too much about that right now, but the idea is instead of buying products, you define what your goals and needs are and form an ongoing relationship with the merchants to solve those and to continue solving those.
Basically to keep it
That sure
local.
clears it up.
Sorry.
I kind of know what he's talking. It sounds very interesting. Certainly creative ideas are things that we really like to see in the city. And especially, I know the merchants on Artesia Boulevard have been looking for some leadership for quite some time. And what you are saying sounds very interesting. So we look forward to hearing more about it in the future.
Good, thank you. I look forward to telling
What's
you.
your contact info?
It's rick@mcqcorp.com. I've got a card if you'd like one.
I would.
That'd be great. Yeah, please leave a card.
Motion to receive and file. The business card.
This card. I was going to say.
The one you gave us.
I will
last time
second that, I
has
guess. What can I
the
say?
map of
All those
the-
in favor?
Okay, I'll take a new one.
That's funny.
Okay.
Like the CRT.
And like I said, it's still forming, so I'm happy to talk to people about how to form this. I
great.
have my own concepts, but I'm open. We can all shape it. Okay?
Excellent.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
If I may, Commissioner, we do happen to have happenstance on our next, or on the item about the electronic message sign. We have Greg Kapovich, our Economic Development Director here, and that's a great contact, and he's going to run out and get his car.
See him running now.
Okay.
All right.
Well, Willie may, I feel like we're in like one of those Mutual of Omaha, watch the prey attack. Go after. Any rate, well, very
Yeah.
good. I guess next we go into ex parte communication. And regarding any of the ex parte, regarding public hearing on business, any members here want to mention of anything that, any communication they've had with the public with any of the agenda items we're speaking about tonight? Councilmember, who wants to start?
Sure. So my ex parte communication, I have spoken with Commissioner Hazeltine. I've spoken with Councilmember Lowenstein, as well as Planning Manager Scully.
Very good.
Thank you.
No communication to report.
Very good.
No ex parte to report.
Mr. Light?
No ex parte to report.
And I know nothing.
I spoke to Councilmember Lowenstein, no, actually, J2, well, both times, Lowenstein, Nierenheim, and Commissioner Hazeltine. Very good. So I guess next we go to item J2. Well, actually, first we have this, is anyone here to speak on any of the topics we're going to be discussing tonight? Any member of the public? If so, please stand and we'll ask to administer an oath. Very good. Can you raise your right hand and repeat the following? Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth this evening? Thank you very much. Let's see, so on J2.
Motion to open the public hearing on J2.
That's right.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Now, do I read what we're talking about first, or then?
Yeah,
Okay,
with the
very good.
introduction, the introductory paragraph, yeah.
Anyway, on item J2, which we're going to be starting now, it's a public hearing to consider an exemption declaration and conditional use permit to allow the operation of a new child care facility with infants, Ocean View Academy Child Development Center, within an existing church school building on property located within a commercial pedestrian-oriented C-2 PD zone and single-family residential R1 zone. And I
So
guess
staff presentation.
staff presentation on this? Please
Yes.
proceed.
Thank you, Commissioner. Members of the Planning Commission, Sean Scully, Planning Manager, and Stephen is going to man the PowerPoint, and I'll provide the presentation. So if we're ready to cue that up. And also, before I begin, we do have the applicant present tonight, plus I believe I don't know your title, but the St. Andrews business manager here as well. So as you stated in your opening remarks, this is an exemption declaration and conditional use permit to consider a conditional use permit for a children's daycare facility with infants. And it is noteworthy that there are infants in a large component of this project, and I'll get into that going forward. Next slide. So just a little bit of background. This originally came to us November 17th, 2023. It's been over a year. We apologize to the applicant on that. And we're here to move this thing forward. The proposed project, a children's daycare with infant care. It's called Ocean View Academy. There's a maximum enrollment of 100 children proposed, and that'll make, that's also relevant as well, the term enrollment, and I'll get into that later. But the children are between the ages of 6 weeks and 6 years. 40 of the children will be infants, and the state defines infant as between 6 weeks and 2 years. They'll be at max capacity. There'll be 20 full-time staff, instructors, and 4 part-time staff. And their operating hours are proposed from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. There are no physical improvements associated with this other than things like paint and minor surface alterations on the interior of the classrooms. There's also a loading zone and a parking lot across the street. The project is located at 301 Avenue D. It's that northeast corner of Avenue D and Pacific Coast Highway. And again, it's unusual in the sense it has split zoning. The portion of the lot fronting PCH is C2PD, and the remainder of the lot going east is single-family residential. Both those zones allow for children's daycare with the issuance of a conditional use permit. Next slide. So here's the location. This is just an aerial, gives you an idea of what's going on, at the property, as well as the parking lot across the street. And here's a close-up of the area where you see the actual church facility on the front and the west end of the parcel, and then the classrooms that are shaded on the rear towards the eastern and northern portion of the lot. Then you have the play areas in the courtyard is one, and then the other out in a grass area that fronts Avenue D. Next slide. This exhibit identifies the loading zone. It's a 50-foot loading zone on the eastern edge of the property on the north side of Avenue D. And then here's the zoning that I described earlier. You have the C2PD on the west end, and then the R1 is the yellow on the east end. And you can see the surrounding zonings, north, south, and west is all C2PD. And then you have multifamily residential immediately north, and then all single-family residential to the east. Just some background, on the St. Andrew's Church. I dove in pretty deep just to find out, how this large classroom area was established initially. And it was, the school itself was originally developed, I think, in the 40s, the church, and then they added the school in 1962, the classrooms, and the parking lot across the street on the south side of Avenue D in 1962. So the uses that have been there, there's this organization called MOPS, Mothers of Preschoolers. They have operated there for 30 plus years. It's fairly small. They did at their peak, they operated with an average of 4 teachers and 20 children, 5 days a week between 10 and 12:30. And they utilized that grass area out in front as their play area, outdoor play area. Prior to that, there was Knowing Gardens, a private K-5 school, and they operated for about 15 years. It was a little bit larger of an operation, a K-5 school, averaged 25 students and 5 teachers, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. And then the actual St. Andrew's Sunday School program, they get together with another church and they have a combined Sunday school enrollment or program that has up to 80 children in the school classroom facilities on Sundays. The proposed operation, and again, the applicant's here to speak to some of the details, but here's some of the summary items. The enrollment of up to 100 children, and the way it operates, and the applicant can speak to it, more in more detail, but that's the max enrollment. Whereas many of the clients, they don't drop their children off, 7 to 6 Monday through Friday. They have a part-time agreement with the operation, with the academy. The kids will, maybe Tuesdays and Thursdays, they'll be there all day, and Monday and Wednesday, only 4 hours. So the daily attendance is expected to be somewhere between 60 and 75 children. And then up to 40 children in the enrollment will be infants. So a good portion of the students or the children that'll be there on a regular basis will also be infants. And that's, again, 6 weeks to 2 years of age. And then the maximum capacity in terms of employment, they'll have at full capacity 20 full-time employees and 4 part-time employees. And then the proposed hours of operations, Monday through Friday, 7 to 6. The proposed operation, a big part of these children's daycare, obviously, are the pickup drop-off. And so they have a very detailed schedule that they've developed. They have an existing facility now, and they can speak to that as well. But essentially, they'll be, the parents will be signing up for a particular drop-off time. And then they'll stagger those times for 20-minute intervals throughout the morning, and the same at pickup time. And that can accommodate a large number of the children that will be going to the daycare, but they also have the parking lot across the street that's largely empty Monday through Friday. And if let's say the parent can't make it during their allotted time, or when the parent does show up, there's no room at the loading zone, they'll be directed to go to the parking lot across the street and walk the child in. So that's the proposed operation. This here's the actual site plan and some photographs of the property. But this just is the basic that shows the church, where the classrooms are, and the play areas, and then again, across the street, the large parking area. So, with daycare, the primary issues of concern, and I think we've had a few projects come here, maybe with a different commission, but it's typically noise, drop off and pick up. Those are the two concerns that we have with staff, and we get in pretty deep with the applicant on how those things are how those issues are going to be addressed. And so what's happening here is most of the noise, that's going to come from the outdoor play area. So they have a maximum limit. They have their 3 outdoor play areas, and there'll be 10 children per play area simultaneously, but one of those play areas is 10 infants. So we're not expecting a lot of noise off of that location, and that's the half of the play area that's along Avenue D. And then the other 2 areas, so then there'll be children in the other half of the play area on the play structure that's out on Avenue D. And then you'll have the large courtyard, which is almost entirely surrounded by buildings. So staff feels that's a really good buffer for those children in the outdoor play area. Another thing too, in the site visits that I conducted, I went to the site a few times, really the noise environment, the existing ambient noise levels are really high from Pacific Coast Highway. I was surprised how loud the PCH noise was coming up Avenue D from that location. So we also feel that's gonna minimize the children impact, the noise from the children, because the ambient noise level is so high. Next slide. This just, again, is showing the play areas. Let's see, did you go to the next one?
Excuse me, John.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Manager Scully.
No, that's fine.
I see play area 2 and 3. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Play area 1 is the grass.
Yeah, the one exhibit was showing 1 and 2 combined, because it is one open area, but they're going to have a little barrier right down the middle.
Okay.
So you'll see play area 1 and play area 2, and then play area 3 there.
Yeah.
So,
I see.
go ahead to the next slide. So this just is a breakdown of, we looked at how far away it is from the closest noise sensitive land uses, and we have right across the street, we've got 9 apartments, and they're about, I think 85 to 155 feet away. The interesting thing about the apartments, though, is it's a solid wall that they're oriented to the west. So all their openings are to the west, except for the solid side walls that face the north. So just the orientation and the site planning of those closest sensitive uses is pretty favorable for this land use. And then we look at the R1 development. The closest R1 single family residence is 307 Avenue D. That's that's on the same side of the street, and it's buffered by all the buildings of the school facility. So the outdoor play areas are to the west on the other side of the building. So we feel that's definitely going to mitigate most of the noise, potential noise impacts. And then 308, that's across the street, so it's kind of got an open angle, but it's 163 feet away from play area 2. So we figured there's quite a bit of distance there.
And all three play areas are on Avenue D. They're not on PCH.
They're Avenue D. And so, taking all that into consideration, we're still concerned about noise. And we've applied these 2 conditions to the project, limiting the number of children at one time in each of the play areas. And then also and this is something we applied, we did this to a child care facility down in working with them down in the waterfront. I went to the Harbor Commission, as a matter of fact, didn't come to this body, but this condition 11 is the same condition we use for that facility. And it's really active management by staff to recognize children in distress or children like being overly loud. And then they just remove them and take them indoors. And so that's the conditions that we have to address it. I think there is another condition as well. I'll pull that up later when we get into the discussion of it. But that condition essentially it deals with if we do get a credible noise complaint, and we determine that by a noise complaint comes in and we send the police out there, they have noise measuring apparatus. And if it's over a certain amount, or it's deemed to exceed zoning limits, then we can bring that back to the Planning Commission and add additional conditions, make further limitations if the issue comes up. On to the next one. The other issue is parking. Child play care center is required to provide one space this is out of the municipal code, one space per employee plus drop off and pickup areas as determined necessary. So we've got 20 full-time employees and 4 part-time. So we would need 24 spaces required by ordinance. And then we've got 68 spaces in that field. Some of those spaces, there's a handful on my visits. I noticed like 5 plus or minus spaces were being used. And I imagine it's by people that work at the church. And the key is the drop-off pickup, and we have a loading zone, and we have a pretty strict plan for any overflow to go to the parking lot. And then, and this is the drop-off pickup, and there's a condition of approval that we've added that details how that's supposed to be managed in the event the loading zone's filled or somebody misses their appointment. They've got to go to that parking lot and walk them in. Another thing too, we really stressed with the applicant, hey, have you talked to your neighbors? They're if anybody's going to feel the impact, it's them. They reached out. They've had a lot of conversations with surrounding property owners. There was a support from what appeared to be most of the surrounding property owners, and they signed a document in support, and that was attached to the staff report. We did, as one of the blue folder items noted, we did receive a letter of opposition with concerns generally that daycare, it would be, potentially too noisy, and it's not, their recommendation, and you can read it in their letter, was to put it in more inland areas, not down by the beach. That resident actually lives on Avenue C, so it wouldn't be property immediately, on Avenue D. And that concludes staff presentation. Again, we have the applicant here. Our recommendation is that the Planning Commission adopt the exemption declaration and approve the conditional use permit subject to the plans and application and conditions of approval and resolution.
Commissioner Gaddis, you have a question?
Yeah, could you go back to slide 11? I think it was. It was a picture, an overhead picture. Probably
going.
11. Let's go back.
Keep going. Yeah, that one?
Yeah, okay, that one, yeah. There's a line between the parking lot and the drop-off zone on this drawing. What is that line?
It's the Mason-Dixon line.
What, can you read that?
ADA event space.
ADA path of travel, yeah,
Oh,
that's
it's walk across.
probably not an
It's in the
ADA
middle
path
of a
travel.
street without a
Yeah.
crosswalk.
You know,
Middle of the
and
drop-off zone.
when I went to the site, I did
That's
notice there's actually on the street light, right at the edge of the property, there's a crossing sign, like a picture of a person walking across the street.
Yeah,
So it's
and it's right there?
right there.
Okay, well,
But
and
it's
you know, that
not-
kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So if people are gonna have to park in the parking lot and walk their kids across, they either have to walk down to PCH
Right.
or they have to walk up to
Yeah.
Gertruda, is it? Yeah, Gertruda,
Yeah,
where there is a crosswalk.
right.
And walk them over. You just know that 90% of the people are gonna try to cross the street right there. And so the question is, we already have something there that implies that people should be looking out for peds there.
Yes.
Does it make sense to put something like a crosswalk,
You know,
something?
I mean,
It'll take 11
our
years.
public works director would probably have my head, if I recommended something like that.
Speak freely.
Yeah.
We'll send
And, but it could be something we take to the, what is it, the public safety? No, not public safety, it's traffic.
They just changed the name.
Oh, okay, we have a new commission that deals
Humanities.
We're a
with.
commission with no name.
That shall not be
No
named.
commission.
Shall not be named.
Shadow
Oh, yeah. It's the Public Works and Sustainability
Oh,
Commission.
okay.
That's what's, yeah.
And they, we could add a condition that we look at with that commission as well as the Public Works Department.
Yeah, I don't know that this is a condition of approval or anything
Okay.
like that, but
Okay.
it just struck me, first of all, when I read this, that it's not going to be safe for people, necessarily as safe as we want it to be.
Yeah.
I don't know how busy a cross street that is right there, frankly. But, you're going to have people walking little kids across that street. And the fact is, it's going to occur.
Yeah.
And then I saw that line on there. It's like, okay, what is that line? And now you point out, which is kind of what I thought it might be, and that is, there is
Path of
some sort
travel.
of crossing there.
It-
But
it-
to formalize that might be a really good idea.
Okay.
And even if it amounts to something like they have on PCH in the 300 block
Oh,
and
you're
stuff
right.
with flashing lights and
Yeah,
stuff.
I was
yeah.
gonna say, if you don't have flashing lights, a crosswalk like that in the middle can
No
be
one's
more
gonna notice.
dangerous than not having a crosswalk.
Right, because it gives a false sense of safety,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But something with the flashing lights. We don't mean to create a problem there on the street, but I think it'd be better to be safe about this.
Understood.
I would just add to that,
Mr. Conroy, go ahead.
where's our lights?
Yeah.
Where are our I would just add to that, in theory, I agree with what you're saying, but I would also just say, this is a parking lot that's been well-established for years, and so there's pedestrian traffic across that street. It's a 2-lane residential street, so I think it's not uncommon. Maybe it's uncommon for during the week or during some of those hours for folks, but it's not like we're putting in a new parking lot across the street.
No, but this is drop off of little kids and having little kids being walked across the street
Yeah.
all day. Basically, at some point, you know what I mean? You could easily expect once an hour at least somebody's walking their kid across there, right?
I just, all I'm saying is, and I'm a father myself, so I can appreciate the safety of children, but we're talking about a 2-lane, not a 4-lane road. And it's an established thoroughfare. And I think Director Scully mentioned that there's a requirement that the parents accompany the children across the street.
Yeah.
Right. But I do agree with the idea of light. something that would not create light pollution for the residential areas behind it.
It's daytime.
So you're trying to say 6-week-old kids can't walk across the street? Is that what you're trying to say? They can crawl.
I'm 6 weeks old.
Commissioner Lamb, I believe you have a question.
Actually,
I'm trying to get your attention for 40 minutes.
Mr. Light, Mr. Light.
You're exaggerating.
Commissioner Boswell.
I forgot my question. So
Classic.
this is there a lot of traffic on Avenue D?
No,
Okay.
it's not it's a
So-
local, single-family residential neighborhood, so we don't
But
anticipate
it
a
does
lot of
start during
traffic.
commute hours, so you never know.
Yeah.
And the school has staff that's meeting the people that are dropping off in the drop-off area.
Right.
Could somebody also be a crossing guard type of person that would just, as somebody's on the parking lot side, walk out to the middle of the street with a sign like the crossing guard that they finally put in front of my house after 30 years?
Yeah. It's
Too late for my kids to cross Englewood, but
Saw a lot of nodding heads over
anyway,
here.
so it seems like it's an easy solution because they've already got staff out there for the cost of a ping pong paddle and some graphics. You could have a crossing guard.
The best.
Oh, you don't need the best.
Oh,
Yeah.
hey, they look good.
Brightly attired. Or go out dressed as a priest. That will stop the traffic immediately. Nobody's going to risk that. So, but now that it's been brought up, what's the city's liability should
Yeah.
someone get hurt? They're going to say,
Yeah,
"Oh, but
I think that's
planning
where,
commission brought this up, you didn't do anything."
yeah,
Who's
that's,
now liable?
that's where, I mean, the city has processes, procedures for traffic-related improvements and safety issues. I would recommend that we funnel it in that direction so the city can, the way it's set up now, it's down to they walk down on the sidewalk and across at an intersection, which is, within, there's no liability to that. A mid-block, that might be a little more of an issue that we might not want to condition on it other than a recommendation that it be submitted to the Traffic or Public Works and Sustainability Commission as a request to study.
Would speed bumps be another issue worth studying?
Well, that's that type of a traffic and calming improvement, if you will, does go through that whole process.
Right, yeah,
So-
in fact, well, I was going to add into it, I'm very, very, very familiar with that. I used to live on Avenue C right there. And I probably sold about 6 houses in that immediate area, so I know traffic at various times of the day, afternoons and such. Some of the people I spoke to were concerned about the drop-off area and the area. I'm glad that Commissioner Gaddis brought up the same thing about the crossing, because I saw that, when kids are walking across, let's put it this way, Avenue D does not have a signal, Avenue C does. Traffic, sometimes people like to go down that so we can get through quickly, especially if they're making a right turn to go north on PCH. Usually people making a turn go to Avenue C because there's a stop sign there. Avenue C also has traffic bumps throughout there, all up the hill, because it used to be quite a busy thoroughfare at times. But cars do go down pretty quickly. So it's on it. If you haven't been there, it's a hill. It drops down. Cars sometimes just like to go fast down that area just by nature wanting to get through the intersection. Can you pull up slide, I think it's 17 or 9, and they have the drop-off windows. So it'd be limited to that area, but then this window here so from 7 to 10 a.m., it looks like most of the activity is going to happen.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, because the concerns I had with this, people were saying, well, if this is going on all day, that could be a problem. And then in the morning, if people are leaving to go to work, it's right in the middle of that time period. Some of the feedback that I got from some people were that they would prefer to have all the drop-off and pickup in the parking lot, not on the street. That way, cars would go in there, there wouldn't be any impediment to the street itself. And I don't know if that's practical based on the number of, you said there's 24 spots that are going to be used, probably there's about 68 total. So it sounds like there might be some capacity there. But again, I'm just trying to figure out some way to mitigate some of that. I mean, it seems like the crosswalk issue is important to address if we can, even have something like with a flashing light that turns off at night or something. I know they make those so they don't work 24 hours a day, so you won't get light pollution. But is there, so that was the only thing I would say that I've had some concerns with. But it's not a huge amount of traffic, but there is traffic, and it does go kind of quickly sometimes, as I've seen many times.
Chair?
Understood.
Comments from the applicant?
Exactly. Any comments from the applicant, please? Or
Questions for?
yeah, I think we have to go through our discussion first, correct? Is there any other questions that we have, or should we go to?
Any way you want.
Okay, that sounds great. You had a question, Jason?
Commissioner Lamb
Mr.
had her hand up first.
Mhm.
I have some questions for the applicant.
Very good.
And I've asked other questions of Manager Scully, so I will defer to Commissioner Conroy.
Very good.
All right, just regarding the noise ordinance for R1 is 50 decibels maximum between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. So I don't see an issue there. Has there been any noise study? Do we have any idea?
No, there hasn't been a noise study. That would probably be what, if we do get a reasonable complaint that's measured by, the police department when they go out there and investigate it, then that would be a requirement probably immediately is to have a noise study.
Schools typically don't exceed 45 decibels. So it seems to me like this would probably be not louder than a elementary school.
Yeah, no, not with the limits that we've placed on it. There's very few children will actually, really Avenue D, the play areas right by Avenue D are going to be where you're going to generate the noise, and there's only going to be 10 kids and 10 infants out there.
But plus the fact that street noise, if you've been in that area, I think
Yeah,
ambient background
What I'm-
noise is
what I'm
probably a lot
getting
louder
at-
than that.
What I'm getting at is, though I appreciate the restrictions placed by the department, is there a need to, I mean, how did you come up with the 10 child restriction?
From the applicant. And it was consistent with their operation.
Okay.
We just wanted to, get and they can speak to, how that works for them. But we thought it was reasonable, but we just wanted to kind of draw the line in the sand and limit it so that all the kids weren't out there all the time. That could be a kind of a different animal.
Commissioner Light.
I walk all the time near Lincoln School. It's real close to my house, and there's a playground there, and it's kindergarten and first grade, and there's probably close to 100 kids there. And walking by there, it's not an unpleasant sound, and it's not a real loud sound.
Right.
That's right.
It's
Yeah.
planned.
I lived in New York City. I had a place on the 12th floor of a building with a balcony, and right across the street was a school like this. And they had a rooftop playground, and you could hear them, but it's kind of a pleasurable sound of little kids laughing around and running around and playing.
They laugh a lot more than us adults.
They sure
and it's-
do.
It's nice to hear.
Yeah, and I used to live across from Borough Heights on North Lucia, just up the street from, I believe you live.
Right.
And, yeah, it was fine. I worked out of my house, never bothered me. The only time they ever noticed it, I think, when the bells rang or something at the end of recesses or something like that. Other than that, it was just like hearing the ocean. So, pretty much. You had a question, Mr. Boswell?
I was just going to say, my house is 2 blocks, a soccer field, and an asphalt playground from the backside of Washington Elementary School, and I can hear them in my house. But that's not so bad. It's the knucklehead with the bullhorn. Really bothers me. So as long as there's a no bullhorn rule, I think the neighbors understand.
We'll call that the Boswell Amendment? I like that.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
Which
or
is
would you like to go to,
which is a
have the
daily
applicant
violation
speak?
of the
I have-
sound.
If the applicant would like to come up and speak, I think that some of the commissioners may have some questions for you. Oh, yeah, please state your name for the record. Thank you.
So I am Liliana Lujan. I'm the applicant, and this is
Conrad Lujan.
Cohen.
I would like to open some questions, or please go ahead.
Sure. Thank you for coming. So you have a a facility now in Hermosa Beach.
Yes.
Now, do you currently do the drop-off, pick up and
Yes.
drop-off?
Yes.
And your parking lot is adjacent to it's not across the street, it's adjacent
Yes.
to the
it's
church,
adjacent.
correct?
Yeah.
So, and how many children do you have?
We have about 60 children, but they're not all full-time. They kind of have like part-time schedule or some are Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, some are Monday through Friday, but there's about 60 children total.
So your enrollment is going to, total 60, and your enrollment is going to go up to your total enrollment is going to go up to 100.
Well, we would like a maximum enrollment of 100, but I had told Sean that for us physically, we would like to keep it at 85. So it would never go, we don't want to go 85 to 100. It's just something we would like to manage is just 85, and almost half would be infants.
And half would be
Mhm.
infants. And is half of them infants now?
In our current facility, we don't have any infants. We're licensed from 2 to 6 years old. And the new facility will have the zero, it's called zero, which is really weird. Yeah, so it's 6 weeks to 6 years old.
Okay, so so the infant portion is going to be new for you, and that's half of the 85. So you really, you have off and on 50 to 60, right? So it's about the same, going to be about the same range in terms of the kids coming in and out,
Yes.
and also the impact on the pedestrian traffic, right? So describe how the infant drop-off is going to work.
Okay, so for the most part, the infant drop-off will utilize the timeframes that we had displayed up there. So they would be like 7 to 7:20, they would pull up to that loading zone, and we would have only allotted 6 cars per the 20 minutes, and there would be 6 teachers. So there would be 1 teacher per car. And so as soon as the car pulls up, they'll be able to help the parents pull the children out, take their necessities, and they would go straight into the center, take the children to the classroom. And the classroom is the first classroom as you walk in. Those first 3 classrooms are all infants. So they would take them straight in, get them situated, and they would walk back out. And there would already be teachers inside that room to receive the infants that are coming in. So we would have teachers in the room, and then the teachers that are facilitating the traffic outside.
What problems do you have right now with the drop-off pickup? You're on a different, you're not, you're adjacent to, just a little bit back from aviation, but you're on a street that has very little traffic, right? So what challenges do you have? Problems is not the word, challenges, right? What are the challenges that you have now? I think it seems to many of us that it's really lots of potential for disruption and chaos. So I'm just wondering what your experience is now, and have you planned for some of these new challenges on a much busier street?
So our current facility right now is off of Aviation Boulevard, which is a very, very busy street. And there's a entrance, so the cars would enter at one side of the driveway, and they exit the other side of the driveway. So it minimizes.
Oh, so
the
they
inside.
enter at that aviation,
Mhm.
right, in that parking lot?
Yes, they enter right into the parking lot. And then I do want to say that there are 60 children enrolled, and we only have 19 parking spaces. So it's very, so we utilize this staggered parking, this staggered drop-off, and it works very well with the limited amount of parking that we do have. And so it will, I think it benefits that we have practiced this for the past 11 years, and we'll be able to use it at the Redondo Beach one.
So you're talking about they pull into the parking lot?
Yes. Mhm.
And what happens then?
So they pull into the parking lot, and they can either, if they don't have an allotted staggered time, they can either park, or they pull up right to the front of the school. There's a gate, they pull up to the front of the school, a teacher receives them, they walk in with that teacher, and then they keep going right out of the driveway.
The child walks in with
The child walks in with the teacher, yeah.
Right, right. There was a suggestion here that you would, one suggestion was, what if all the kids were dropped off in the parking lot off of Avenue D?
I think that's a contingency as we enroll the parent and the student, is we have these allotted times, and they're suggested, strongly suggested that they take one of these times, and then when it's full, or if they're late, then that's when they can park in the parking lot, and then we would do the walkthrough. But for the most part, like our experience at Hermosa Beach, most of the parents are in a rush to get to work. So they do use that staggered time, and they pull up, drop off, and they keep going. Mhm.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Mr. Light, I guess go first.
So I noticed on the wait list here, you got 31 names here.
Yes.
What's your anticipated time to get up to 80 or 100? Or do you have a marketing plan, or have you done a needs assessment, or where are you at on all that?
There's two things. So our current preschool right now, the owner wants to sell the building where we're at. So most of those families are actually coming over to, well, they want to come over to the Redondo one if we're approved. And two, we have this wait list. We have people calling. So there's a, TK has become this push in California. And so they've lowered the age limit. So a lot of the older age children are going to TK at 4 years old, which is not something that has happened in the country, like ever. So it used to be 5.5, they would go to kindergarten, and that's kind of where it's at. But now the state of California is pushing this TK program.
TK?
TK, yeah, transitional
Okay,
kindergarten. So it's kind of, it's preschool.
We're not in the military.
Yeah,
We don't have to
sorry.
talk in
Sorry.
acronyms.
It's transitional kindergarten, which is essentially preschool.
Well, that
but
makes
then-
perfect
yeah.
sense. TK sounds like another Terminator sequel.
TK2.
So they're pushing this program, which is making all the children that are younger go to public elementary schools. So that means there's a bunch of infant care at the moment. All the children that are in private preschools are 6 weeks to about 3.5. And so at our Hermosa one, we get calls every day for infant care, and we don't facilitate infant care. And so we put the names down, and we're like, hey, possibly there'll be another school in Redondo Beach. We don't know. We give them names to the ones that are already in Redondo Beach, but they're full. There's Children's Journey in Redondo Beach. They're 100% full. They have a 75 wait list on their infant care. So this would immediately serve the community itself. Most of the wait list is Redondo Beach, and a lot of them actually live closer to our planned Redondo preschool. They were willing to enroll at the Hermosa Beach and then transfer over to the Redondo one once it opened.
Gotcha. Okay. Mr. Conray, you have a question.
Yeah, I just want to say, first of all, it sounds like a great thing. I see that it's meeting the community needs and the needs of young working families. To your point, a lot of them are looking for infant care. There's a tremendous demand. Also like that we're making use of existing space, the church space, so it doesn't require breaking ground and building on new facilities. And finally, I'd like to say I also like that it's providing, how many different positions did you say, 24?
24. Mhm.
So that's bringing local jobs to the area, and we like that. Keep Redondo residents working in Redondo to the extent possible.
I'm actually an old resident of Redondo in Manhattan. I went to Maricosta and I went to Lincoln Elementary. I heard somebody would live next to Lincoln Elementary. So I'm coming back and serving the community that I grew up in.
Wonderful. We did discuss the traffic and parking concerns. It sounds like you have a system it is more than just a concept, but something you've been doing for some time, and so you've probably worked out the kinks. One thought I had is, if there's backup on that road, like people get there early or something like that, you can just have them go right into the parking lot, right? So that there should never be prolonged congestion on that residential street with, like you see in some elementary schools where the cars are all just parked on the street waiting to drop off the kids. That's not going to be an issue.
No, and the good thing about the Redondo location is that they enter Avenue D, but they exit Avenue E.
The other side, yeah, so it's always
So
flowing.
it flows right. Mhm.
No, that is good. Okay, and I like that you had the community, you reached out to the local community. And yeah, there is a lot of noise coming off of PCH, and you're along a commercial district. You've got a multifamily in that one space. And the other properties, they're used to being next to a parking lot, which has people coming and going. And they're next to a church, which also has gathering of people. Again, I'm generally very much in favor of this. One last question. So you're leasing space from the church? Is that how this is set up?
The Redondo or the Hermosa?
Where, for this?
For this one,
Yes.
we will be leasing, the space.
Okay, okay. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Two things. One, let the record reflect that Chairperson Hazeltine has entered the
Thank
room.
Hi.
And there's a question also from Commissioner Boswell first. so
Okay,
please
I
go ahead.
did want to do ex parte communication for myself. I spoke with Commissioner Lamb and Commissioner Gray. Okay, go ahead.
So you're basically having to leave the Hermosa campus and you're establishing the Redondo one. It's just basically a move.
Yes.
And a lot of the people that are in Hermosa actually live closer to the Redondo facility anyway, so that's a win for them. What about the rest of them?
So we have established a really good, we have never advertised or done anything. We have a really good rapport with all of our parents, and they've always, it's word of mouth. They've always referred somebody, and so they want to stay with us, which is amazing. And
So they're all moving?
so most of them are moving. Some are graduating in June, so we won't be seeing them, but most of it would leave about 35 families that are left in the center, and then they would move over to the Redondo location.
And in Hermosa, you do not have infant care,
No.
but you are going to have it in Redondo.
Mhm.
And you're thinking about 40 maximum?
40 max infants.
What leads you to believe that there are that many infants in the area that you would, are you just hopeful, or do you have some
See the waiting list?
information?
No, so yeah, we do have a waiting list that has about 30, I think it's at 35?
31 names.
31. And we've already, like I said, every day we get a phone call for infant care, and we always have to reject them.
What geographic area are you drawing these infant care requests from?
Hermosa, Redondo, and I think there is a little bit from Torrance. They actually work out in the Redondo area, but they live in Torrance. But most are Redondo.
Okay, so it's just that I constantly hear how Redondo Beach and the South Bay in general is far too expensive for young families to afford to live here. And yet we see anecdotal evidence all the time that is quite contrary to that. And apparently here we have one more situation where I guess we don't have to worry about the price of housing after all. Not that the efforts that Sacramento wants us to make will change that one bit, but it's good to know that they're completely wrong in their assessment that young families can't afford to live here. So I congratulate you for making it even more livable by providing a very necessary component of our city's social fabric to allow daycare, because it may indeed be expensive to live here. And so it's going to be two working families, or two working adults in the family. Daycare is what makes that possible.
Absolutely.
So it's very good that you have that. And the infant care is, as far as I understand, and I recall with our kids, it was almost impossible to find that.
Yes.
except 2 blocks down the street, was the one place in the whole South Bay that you weren't going to pay an arm and a leg for to be able to put your infant in daycare. Of course, they're now building something else there, but great. Do you, you have what, 31 or so on the waiting list for infant care?
31.
And you expect that due to your experience in call-in requests, that you should be able to maintain that as an ongoing component of your business?
Absolutely. Like I said, the calls are always about the 0 to 2 year old, 0 to 2 years old space. And we were always having to say like, I'm sorry, there's another school down the road, but they're like, that school is full. And I'm like, I am so sorry. As a parent, I have 5 children and all of them went through preschool. It is very difficult to find a place for your newborn or your infant that you are very comfortable with, and that all the teachers are live scanned by the state. They have to go through child abuse classes. They have to go through criminal backgrounds. It's reassuring that you can put someone in that space that's down the block from your house or that's down the street from where you live. So being able to provide that is definitely great for this community. And I grew up in this community, so I just want to give back to that.
So sounds like even more licensing and scrutiny than the employees of the massage parlor that we just
I
approved.
think we have to. Commissioner Boswell, thank you. Commissioner Lamb?
One,
No, hold on.
hey, you got 20
No.
questions. One last question. You can
That
shut me off.
wasn't
You can shut me off if you want, but I have one last question.
a question, okay?
Is this strictly daycare, or are you going to have preschool as well with some educational component?
So it is, it's a child care center, so it's infant care and preschool.
So there is preschool, so
So,
there's
yeah.
some educational component to it.
Absolutely.
So that's great. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Lamb?
So I'm wondering if it's possible to speak with the person from the church.
Jim?
Needs to be sworn in.
I think you have to be sworn in.
Oh, okay, yes,
Raise your right hand. You promise to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you. Okay.
And my name is Bob White.
Bob White.
I'm the business manager at St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church.
Okay, thank you for coming up, Mr. White. There's been some discussion about the traffic and the drop off and pick up and how that's going to go and where they're going to cross, et cetera. So it occurred to me that possibly the experience that the church has had over the years, right? You've had several schools there. You've had, you continue to have, I believe, a robust Sunday program where people probably park in that parking lot,
Correct.
right? So can you give us a sense of, and I'm going to guess that you have 2 sessions on Sunday, maybe 1 or 2 sessions on,
We used to have 2. We do have 1 now.
you have
So,
1 now. Okay. So can you describe, how does that traffic work actually? And what is the, both in the previous school, day schools and in the current church attendance? How is that working and what challenges have you overcome?
Figured out.
Well, I think you've hit on the right thing. I think the getting across that from that parking lot to the church has always been a concern of ours. I know on Sundays, we do have somebody that is a traffic monitor. We've had that on and off. It just depends. For instance, we assign someone to that and do that. There's another church that actually has services after we do. So you could say we have 2 services. Our particular church has 1 service, and the other church has another service, and we both have traffic people.
Monitors, do you have a name for traffic monitors?
Yeah,
or-
something, traffic monitors. So, and they wear the bright orange or green, uniforms, and then go out and let people across. I know at one point, before I was around, I've been there for 18 years, but before I was there, I know they did come and try to figure out how to get a crosswalk across there, but some sort. But the traffic there is sporadic, and it's there's not a lot of it. Of course, PCH is very, trafficky. So we do caution the people that come in, and I think it's worked, so I don't know if I answered all your questions. But,
So let me just see if I understand. So for the Sunday and also possibly for during the school days, when you had the other school programs, right? You've used traffic monitors. That's seemed to be the most successful resolution to the challenge.
yeah, it's made our congregations, it's made them feel more comfortable. And
Safer.
So safer, sure. And so we've tried to accommodate that. And I can't say that through my 18 years, probably just maybe a third of that, we've actually had these traffic monitors. So it hasn't been the entire time. It just depends on some of the different ebb and flow of the congregation, how many people we have, how many kids we have, those types of things. So,
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
At any time, so one of the questions that was asked, or one of the comments was, it's likely people are not going to go to the corner, that they're going to cross directly from the parking lot to the church.
I would say that's almost always, yes.
That's almost always, that they don't go to the corner and come around.
That's correct.
And how about for the school? So that's the Sunday
Right.
program.
Mhm.
What about the school? What was your experience with the schools?
I didn't monitor that too well. I know they didn't have any traffic monitors having people coming across, and I know they actually,
I think they all,
at least their employees, there was only a handful of them though, so there weren't as many as 20 or whatever, but there was a handful of employees, and I know they had no problems that I'm aware of.
and they
so.
parked in the parking lot,
Yeah, in the parking lot, correct.
right?
Yeah.
And did they have a drive up, a drop off, pickup?
Not officially, they didn't have any, like they have a real good plan, I think, for this, but no, they did not have any specific plan for that. So,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you've answered my questions, and thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, I do have a couple of comments. Avenue D, not for you, you can sit, thank you. The one good thing is that the parking lot is, you guys can come back up, is far enough away from Pacific Coast Highway, but getting across, believe it or not, when you're walking on PCH and you're going south and you cross Avenue D, there's quite a lot of traffic making a right-hand turn on to Avenue D off PCH, and they do come quickly. So I would actually think it'd be a really good idea to have a condition where we do have a crossing monitor there during drop-off. Frazzled parents, young children, it's mid-block. I think that's a great idea. Yeah, one or two people that are there to kind of slow everything down, because, I've been that parent dropping kids off at school, and it can be crazy.
I absolutely think it's a great idea. I don't think it's anything that we can't do at all. I think we can put an extra person there with an orange vest, with the stop, like the stop thing. And I think that's something we definitely have no problem.
Right. Okay, good. That was all. That was my concern. You definitely have enough parking over there. Yeah, crossing is definitely going to be an issue. I hope that it's resolved. Anybody else? No. Okay.
If I may, Chair,
Yes.
we do have some concerns, I'm speaking from staff's perspective, with a mid-block crossing.
Yeah.
Without having the benefit of the city's traffic engineer, the Public Works and Sustainability Commission that monitor, or that it's in their purview to deal with crossings and speeds in residential streets with speed bumps. They handle all that.
Yeah,
And the way the condition is written now, it requires that if we're hopeful most of the drop-off pickup is handled in the loading zone, and which is immediately adjacent, so there's no street crossing. Then what can't be handled there, we're hoping there's a little bit of spillover, goes to the parking lot, and then per the conditions of approval as drafted now, they're required to go to the intersection and cross. Now,
down to PCH,
well,
Sean?
PCH or Juanita. We could limit it to
Gertruda.
Juanita.
Gertruda.
Yeah, it's weird.
Is it? It's not
I think it's
Juanita?
Gertruda.
It's marked here as Gertruda.
Juanita
Okay.
turns into Gertruda right at that
Oh, that's
intersection.
right.
Yeah, it's kind of a, yeah, it's a,
Okay.
So what are you saying?
so I'm saying,
I mean, I know I think, I know and I've heard that you cannot put a crosswalk mid-block. That's just not going to
well, I mean,
work.
you can, we just want to have the
It's kind of
benefit.
dangerous, I've heard. They should be at
Well,
corners.
with flashing lights, they,
Yeah,
Okay.
it would be something that we'd want the benefit of the, experts at the city to review and then bring to that Public Works and Sustainability
Right.
Commission. I think it's more prudent that we stick with intersection crossings and as conditioned now, we're hopeful that a majority of the children will go to the loading zone because that's the way it's designed. They're staggered for that
I
to
interrupt,
occur.
Sean. Are
What's
you
that?
suggesting we should not have a condition to have a person there to help them cross the street?
Yes, I'm kind of going around in a circle,
Yeah.
but that's what I'm trying to say. Or subject to, if we do it, subject to the review of the city's Public Works Department.
Does that delay their ability to open until?
No,
Okay.
no, we would, in the meantime, the interim would be, your conditions are going to say, hey, you should have probably somebody at staff saying, hey, you got to go to the crosswalk. At least until that part of it, that mid-block crossing gets
So
ironed
clarify
out.
that with me. That's one of that's in there, that they need to go to the corner to cross.
Yes.
Not that they need to go to PCH to cross.
Well, it says PCH is condition
I
number
gotta tell you,
9.
that is really, I'm not kidding you guys. I walk that to
I
go to
know.
dinner and stuff. It's tricky. The people
I can't believe
turning
there's not a
right off
crosswalk there.
PCH, turning right off PCH,
No.
you're like, okay,
I-
run,
Well,
know?
Why isn't there a crosswalk
I
there?
don't know, but and there's,
Right.
and
Motocross
going,
isn't
you
even a
know,
crosswalk there.
Yeah.
going across,
Yeah.
across PCH is stupid, but there's nothing there. Either way,
I know.
that's not safe.
I know.
Okay, I can see you saying they have to go up to the top street,
Yeah.
but it's not safe to take a 2-year-old across that right there. It really, truly isn't.
I know. It's weird too. I don't know, you weren't here, but there's actually a
I was
crossing
listening.
sign
Mhm.
that's there, which is like, how did that, that must have been
Right,
a
I
city.
saw that, yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know when that went up.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
So-
go ahead.
So
Commissioner Boswell. Oh,
what's,
sorry.
you're suggesting that per code, a condition to have someone with a sign is not allowed.
Well, I'm
Is-
not
is
saying
that-
it's not allowed. I just I don't have the expertise to know that that's a safe, something for us to do. Our purview isn't the right of way,
I
and,
got you.
and now we're going to have a mid-block crossing that we're going to condition that our Public Works Department and another commission, they have purview over that. It's just.
Don't have the authority.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think
we,
that's
we,
what-
we,
Can we put it in the thing to refer them to that?
Yes.
Yeah.
yes.
that makes sense.
Yeah, just, I know the reality and how it's operated, is there's been mid-block crossings. We even have that sign that, kind of authorizes it in some way. Yeah.
I'm gonna just say speed bumps again, because you can put those mid-block.
Yeah, but
There's
that's
a
not us
whole
either, though.
process
That's
to that
another-
with the
yeah, go ahead,
neighborhood.
Commissioner
and-
Boswell.
Yeah,
Okay,
there's a,
Commissioner Boswell.
you talk about something that'll take a long time to occur.
Well, I mean,
No, it slows people down.
I know that
I
that's.
can't-
Yeah, but-
they are.
Yeah.
That's a
Excuse me,
real
hold on, I can't
process.
hear
one-on-one
Commissioner
Yeah,
Boswell.
because mid-block, it's like, you get some people, they see a crosswalk, they think they're safe.
Yeah, it's more dangerous
Yeah.
than not having a
Yeah, and
crosswalk.
they walk across, it's mid-block and,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's-
people aren't
that's-
ready, drivers aren't ready for it.
I don't want to set up a perception of safety when it doesn't really
Right. Commissioner Craig?
exist.
Yeah, I had a
Well,
question.
okay.
Bob, go ahead. You had more
No,
there.
it's all right.
Okay. Can you pull up a overview of the map of the streets again, very
Yeah.
quickly? Because I don't remember which page it was. It might have been like 9 or 17 or something.
Jamal, we need, there we go.
So in looking at I'm just trying to imagine how people are going to be dropped off. Okay, the dropout point, where the arrow says subject property is right around just to the east of that. Now,
Yeah, right there.
When-
Thank you.
Now, okay, assuming someone's going to say they're heading north on PCH, going to make a right turn, they're going to have to go up and then turn around and then drop their kid off. So now they got a car turning around in that intersection. That's going to be complicated because you might also have people coming from Avenue C, making a left turn on the signal, coming down the other side. So you're going to have cars kind of
That's
all over
true.
the place in the area. The point I make is that probably is even more of a suggestion, more of a reason why we should have some kind of a crossing guard there. Because you're going to have cars, I can just see a car turning, blocking the intersection, a car gets frustrated behind, tries to cut around, and someone's walking across the street. Yeah, that could be a problem.
Maybe what we could do is put in the conditions, subject to review and approval. So we say a traffic monitor, a daycare staff will direct, children and clients from the parking lot across to the
To
children's daycare, subject to review and approval by the city's traffic engineer and Public Works and Sustainability Commission.
That has
That makes
potential
sense.
delaying the,
They could, and then, interim requirement would be as condition 9 is written now. And we can strike PCH crossing.
Yeah, strike
Yeah.
PCH and
Okay.
the condition would be that the parents would need to know that they need to walk up to Juanita, cross at the crosswalk, and come down on the other side if
Right.
they're using the parking lot. I mean,
Yeah.
it truly,
I know, it's
I
good
know everybody's
exercise.
saying this is not a busy street, but crossing there's insane. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, it
That's
is.
I don't
So,
disagree. I
Yeah,
was
it's
scared
not
approaching
easy.
PCH when I
Well,
was
they go
walking
quick.
around.
You know,
Very
they go,
fast.
I know.
okay. So I think we got that covered. Yeah, yes, Commissioner? What were we going to say? Yay, we got it covered.
Speed bumps.
That's all of
Stop
those
with the
things.
speed bumps.
All
Until
those
you
things
are,
are out
just
of our
sit still.
preview. It's like us talking
Just
about
sit
the
still until
parkway.
we have
We
another
can't talk
speed bump
about parkways.
situation.
It doesn't matter.
You could have said bulb out. We were waiting to hear you.
Oh, yeah. Somebody said it.
Pedestrian bridge,
There we go. See, I think that's the best idea you've come up with.
Or a tunnel.
hot air balloons.
Yeah. Okay, Commissioner Light, did
Cable
you have
car?
anything you want to add? Okay, do we have a
Okay.
I do have a
motion to
suggestion.
close?
Motion to close
the
public hearing.
And a
Oh,
second?
wait.
Yeah, Sorry. Oh,
No,
I think-
not yet.
Okay, go ahead.
I
I'm sorry.
think you
Go
have
ahead.
something
No,
to
it's
say.
okay. I do have a suggestion that we, instead of putting someone to cross right across that parking lot, that we station somebody on Juanita, Bertruda? Juanita?
Whatever,
We could have
Juanita,
someone
correct,
there.
yeah.
I do think it will be a big deterrent for parents when they realize they have to walk to the street and then walk around, that they will indeed try to utilize that space in front. They're not going to want, there'll be someone there
gonna
say,
wanna
I'm
be late."
sorry, you're going to have to walk over there. And there will be someone over there. If that is something that can help, we can put that person on that street and they can walk the children and the parents across.
You're talking about incentivizing the parents to use the drop-off.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Their incentive is you don't have to walk down the street and go around. But to help mitigate all all the children going across that actually do use it, we can have someone stationed at that street instead of telling them not to use PCH, but they can use that Juanita, and someone will be there. There'll be a staff member, the same with that.
So Sean, we don't need to make that a condition. They can just do that if they want, huh?
Yeah, I mean, we could just, well, what we do is add a sentence to condition 9 and amend condition 9 just a little bit to get rid of the PCH Avenue option.
Yeah, get that
And
out.
then, so if they have to park over there, they're directed to go to the intersection at Avenue D, and it's whichever, Juanita or the other one.
Fruta / Juanita.
And then, let's see, across the street. Yeah, I think that would cover it then. So we don't have to,
Okay.
you know,
And
add
then
any
if
of
they
those.
choose to put orange vests out there, that's their thing, right? Is that what you're saying? That's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
And
And if they,
really
you know, and
encourage
if they wanted to do a mid-block, you know, you guys could reach out to me. We'd connect you with the Public Works and Sustainability Commission liaison, and then they would start that process of reviewing how to do a mid-block setup that's safe, that the city would then not be liable for.
sign off on. Good idea.
Yeah.
Good idea. Okay.
Motion to close public hearing.
And do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
No,
No?
guess I was outvoted. Still had comments.
Thank you.
Well,
but
we
it's
can
done.
still comment. We just
We
closed
just-
public hearing.
yeah,
Go
we
ahead.
can't.
Comment.
Okay.
No, you
So
just
it's my,
can't. Talk to
Jesus
them.
Christ, give it a rest. You got here late and you're trying to make up for it by just volume of words?
I was
So
listening the whole
my,
time.
my comment was, we really don't know what's going to happen. And you seem to be very proficient in the running of this kind of an operation. You've done it successfully in Hermosa. There's no reason why you can't do this successfully here. I predict, without even asking you, that you will be monitoring this continuously and adjusting as people's behavior adjusts. I would still recommend that you pressure the city to put a crosswalk there, and that you tell the parents, even though there's a crosswalk there, chances are you're going to get run over, so be careful. I didn't even need to tell you that, did I? You would have figured that out yourself. I think the amount of time that we've spent on this, once we found out the city is not going to put a crosswalk in there until she put a gun to their head, is wasted, okay? You know what you're doing. I'm confident that this will be a successful operation and everybody will be fine.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank
You
you.
guys can sit now. Okay. Anybody want to hash it out some more? Okay. Can I get a motion then to,
Approve with the changes
Yes.
suggested, make motion to
And a
approve with the changes suggested
and a
regarding the
I'll second that.
PCH.
okay, all those in favor?
I think we'll do a
We
roll
will do,
call.
yes, let's do a roll call and maybe we should actually read this. Okay, a public hearing to consider, this is J2, an exemption declaration and conditional use permit to allow the operation of a new childcare facility with infants, Ocean View Academy Child Development Center, within an existing church or school building on property located within the commercial pedestrian-oriented C2PD zone and single-family residential R1 zone. So we have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Redondo Beach for an exemption declaration and approving a conditional use permit to allow the operation of a child care center with infants with a maximum of 100 children with existing classrooms at an existing church located within commercial pedestrian C2P zone and a single-family residential R1 zone at 301 Avenue D, case numbers, yes, CUP 2023-14. We have a condition, no, we changed it so that we're going to have Pacific Coast Highway crossing out and moved up to Juanita Gertruda. Was there anything else there, Sean?
No, I believe that covers it.
Okay, thank you. Can we get a roll call on that, please?
Commissioner Light,
Aye.
Commissioner Boswell,
Aye.
Commissioner Craig,
Aye.
Commissioner Gaddis,
Aye.
Commissioner Conroy,
Aye.
Commissioner Lamb,
Aye.
Chairperson Hazeltine.
Aye, that passes 7-0. Congratulations.
Welcome to Redondo Beach. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we now have a public hearing, J1, to consider and make recommendations to the City Council on amendments to Title 10, Chapter 2 zoning ordinance, and Chapter 5 coastal land use plan implementing ordinance of the Redondo Beach Municipal Code related to the use of electronic signs on city-owned property. Do you have anybody here, or is there anybody, oh, I need a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open a public hearing.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And nobody's here. Anybody online want to talk about that?
There are no attendees.
Okay, great. Okay, you have a,
We do. Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
Members of the Planning Commission. Our senior planner, Stephen Jiang, is going to provide the presentation. And I do want to let everybody know we have our Waterfront Economic Development Director, Greg Kapovic, here tonight as well. And I'd like to invite him up if he may. He can sit up here when we get into discussion on the matter. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Stephen Gang, and I'll be presenting the proposed amendment to Title 10, Chapters 2 and Chapter 5 of the Redondo Beach Municipal Code related to the use of electronic signs on city-owned properties. The proposal to allow electronic signs on city-owned property, specifically in the waterfront area, originated at a City Council strategic planning session and also a staff referral meeting. The proposed municipal code amendments would provide the city with flexibility to install electronic signs on city-owned property for various uses under the administrative design review process to be approved by the Director of Community Development. Electronic signs within the city are currently prohibited throughout, with the exception of signs related to live performance theater, such as high school plays, which would require the review of the Planning Commission. The prohibition of such signs were originally intended to prevent the proliferation of billboards around the city. And lastly, the zoning code currently prevents the city and city staff from installing dynamic signage that can be used to communicate to the broader public. Examples would include signs used for announcement at city-owned parks, Amber alerts by the police department, or advertisements of events at City Hall, such as Planning Commission meetings. The first set of changes is located in the sign regulation sections of Chapter 2, Zoning and Land Use. The proposed amendment revises the section heading to include city-owned properties and grants the Community Development Director the authority to approve electronic signs installed by the city on city-owned properties as an administrative design review, as long as the project meets the standards previously provided by this existing section. The text on the right is focused on the list of existing prohibited signs within the city. The text changes allow for an exception of electronic display signs for city-owned properties as long as the project meets the development standards defined in the previous section, 10-2.1814. The second set of changes are located in the sign regulations section of Chapter 5, which is coastal land use implementing ordinance. Again, the left side text changes clarifies the allowed signs within the public and institutional zone properties and adds in city-owned properties and grants the Director of Community Development the approval authority as long as they meet the sign standards. The right side text changes adds in an exception to allow for electronic display signs for city-owned properties within the coastal zone as long as the project meets the development standards defined by the previous section.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. So if you could go back. So who gives the approval?
So it's written as the Director of Community Development, so the Planning Division would be the one giving the approval.
Okay, the planning commission has no role here, is that correct?
For signs that are that are under 30 square feet in size and are electronic and on city-owned, the Planning Commission would not have a role.
Will not have a role.
Correct.
on where they go, or what? Where they go, you're saying?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just repeat. In the current code, Planning Commission has a role for signs, for electronic signs.
Correct.
Right, and non-electronic signs, 30 feet or less. No, 30 feet or more.
Yes,
correct?
yes,
Okay, and all electronic signs.
correct.
And what's going to change is that the planning commission will no longer have any purview over electronic signs.
Over electronic signs that are less than 30 square feet in size.
And city
on
property.
city-owned property.
That's
So it
huge.
needs to be both.
It's huge, right? 30?
Anything in excess of 30 square feet would come to this body still.
30 square feet
Be 5
is,
by
so I can
6.
give you an example of a sign that's larger than 30 square feet. That was the original intention on the upcoming slide. But 30 square feet is, let's just say 5 by 6.
So that's
30
pretty
square
good
feet
size
is
electronic sign, and they could
5
be
by
anywhere.
6.
Only on city-owned property.
City-owned property. owned.
Correct. So I have, yeah, so there's about 57 properties that this could apply to. However, the original intention was really to be along the waterfront where the commercial business uses were. And then allowing places like the Civic Center to also have them, the police department, and parks if they need it.
But school district is not city-owned property.
No,
Correct, they're not.
they have their own.
So the school, oh, go ahead.
I'm just curious on what the original ban was. What problem was it preventing? So saying there's not going to be all these signs here, what was the problem that was originally passed for? Do you know?
Yeah, I could skip to the last this sign right here.
So, I mean, historically, electronic signs were just prohibited, right? I don't know how many years ago, but there was a code amendment that was done that allowed a small caveat for the Performing Arts Center and for the high school specifically. And when they did that text amendment, they created a bunch of really specific conditions about size, how often text could change, brightness, size. And it was really thought out, and it applied for those two, and they built those two. And that's really, we essentially have a moratorium on it at this point. This was really born out of the sign that you're seeing on display right now.
Right.
About 3 years ago, council directed my predecessor, Stephen Proud, to pursue this. They actually funded about $100,000 to make it happen. As we started down the process of trying to build this thing, we realized the code actually doesn't allow for it. So we've taken this much time to do the text amendment, but since then, since that original direction from council, we've also done the King Harbor Amenities Plan, which calls for improved wayfinding down in the waterfront. Think of it as a directory sign that's not static, but something that's touchscreen, right? That could get you from one end of the site to, hey, you're trying to get to R10 or another business. And as businesses go out of business, it's easily changeable, right? So really, in this aspect, yes, we are allowing for more of these signs to take place, but really it's just this one sign that's over 30 square feet. The rest will be wayfinding, and we have an additional kind of layer of control in that it's really just the city property owners. So an application couldn't even be submitted for administrative approval or for planning commission approval without city authority saying, yes, we want this application to at least move forward. So there's that additional kind of standing in the line, making sure you don't receive 100 of these applications, right? That's the thought process.
Yeah, Commissioner Craig.
Yeah, I had a question. Specifically, when I was reading this section, it says 10-5, 1814. So it says, that the wording of it says, in all P, public and institutional zones and city-owned properties, any new sign. So we had a big discussion about public institutional properties, as you remember, like 3 of our planning commission meetings were dominated by that. So this is saying that any of those other PI properties can have electronic signs if they're under 30 feet? Like, for example, I'm just saying.
They already could in the existing code.
Well, I'm thinking specifically, Beach Cities Health District was here. They can put up a sign now,
They could with the issuance of a planning commission design review.
only if it's more than 30 feet.
I'm looking at the code now.
The section A of this
Section A is
here,
electronic message displays, so that's any size.
right. So if you look at section A right now, requires all electronic signs to be under planning commission purview, but then the red line text provides essentially an exemption for city-owned properties for signs smaller than 30 square feet in area to be an administrative design review.
So basically, the current prohibition still is in effect, and we're just allowing this for some city-owned property.
Exactly.
I just want to make sure I read that
Exactly.
correctly. Now, a little more history on that, too. I did speak with Councilmember Lowenstein and Ehrenheim about this. The initial, they were bringing this up primarily for the harbor because the idea was, for example, there's a area where we don't have a boat launch, we have a boat lift, not a launch there right now, but they were thinking at some point in the future would say like an advisory, don't come down here today or something, or there's a auto show or in the parking lot or some announcement type of things in there. That's where the initial intent was, or just to direct people we're having a lobster festival this weekend or something like that. But they were saying it was specifically to that one sign, not in multiple locations and other things at that point. So I just want clarification on that, because obviously there's 30 other properties in the city, I think, that are PI. We don't necessarily want to have signs everywhere. I think we'd have a lot of light pollution after that, because I know the schools have signs up now. And, they're fine. It says school registration, this weekend or something like that. And I also noticed there's a prohibition on, they turn off at midnight and come back on at 6 a.m., I think. There was a shut-off period, so there's a little bit of a blackout. Because even where that sign would be, you've got Sonesta right across the street that would be getting a lot of light pollution, potentially the condos on the other side as well, too. So we probably have to think about that as well. But I just want to make sure there's a 12 midnight to 6 a.m. cutoff, I think is what it said. I read
Correct, all
somewhere in
those
there.
standards would still apply,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Do we want them to finish the report? Let's have the report.
sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. You got
It's just only one more slide, it's all right.
We have a lot to say.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
as I mentioned, the proposed amendments would allow for electronic signs to be reviewed and approved through the administrative design review, which requires a site plan review from the planning division and building permits from the building and safety division. The amendments would effectively allow for electronic signs on city-owned properties. Regardless of zoning, however, it should be noted that any electronic signs larger than 30 square feet on city-owned properties will still require the planning commission design review. Lastly, the proposed amendments are anticipated to potentially affect 57, assuming every single property in the city that exists right now goes and applies for a electronic sign display, but that is not what we're anticipating for this at all. And then looking at the map, we mapped the 57 properties that the city does own that are currently have some kind of development on there. So there's about more than half, there's about 47 vacant lots that don't have any development. They're little strips of land or just landscaping. They wouldn't be able to apply for a sign. And then these are the ones that have development. The majority of the inland dots are pocket parks. And you can see the density of the waterfront city-owned properties, including the Civic Center would be in there too. And then we have various maintenance buildings and the police department, things like that.
And that sign there, Greg can speak to this, I think you have. I mean, this was the impetus for all of this. The intention of the city, at least the city council, as they've weighed in on this and made some directions on this, this is the only place they're looking to do this.
Is this a 30-foot sign?
What was that?
This is
a
larger
30
than
square foot
30
sign?
feet.
This is larger than 30 square foot. So
Yeah.
if this goes in, it needs your approval.
Yes.
So if this is what the impetus is, isn't what you're asking for way broader?
Well, and we zoning regulations, and again, the breadth is only adding some options for city-owned properties. And when we have an opportunity to write a zoning ordinance regulation for city-owned properties, we know we have full control over it. It's not the market that's going to drive it. So we can write that in a very broad way to cover all those properties. We don't know what communication options might be afforded. We might want to put it at very strategically at other locations throughout the city for improving our communications with the community. Again, the council would debate that. If it was greater than 30 square feet, when we were going to try to put it on another city-owned property, it would come here. So, there's no plan for any other locations that I'm aware of at this time.
Not at all. And what I'll add too is typically when you change a a text amendment that affects a zoning, a specific zoning designation, it's for private property, and you have to assume that every private property owner is going to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
This is the city. We're not going to do that, plain and simple.
Are you done with your report?
Only the recommendation.
Onto the recommendation slide.
Okay, go ahead.
So based on the findings, staff recommends that the planning commission consider recommending the proposed amendment to the Redondo Beach Municipal Code for approval by the city council and find that proposed change is consistent with the city's general plan and local coastal program. If recommended for approval, staff will present this to the city council for consideration of amending the Redondo Beach Municipal Code, Title 10, Chapters 2, Zoning and Land Use, and 5, Coastal Land Use Implementing Ordinance.
Thank you. Thank you.
A quick
I don't know.
question
Go
for
ahead. Go.
clarification.
Yeah.
It says here, if recommended for approval, that suggests that if we do not recommend for approval, that you will not take it to the city council. Is that correct?
No, we would. It would go through the city council. So with your
If should be
recommendation,
replaced by
approval or denial.
regardless of-
Yeah.
Regardless, we shall.
Yeah.
of your approval.
Yeah.
Approve it or get run over in the process.
Yeah, it's going to the council regardless.
Yes, it is.
Okay. I'm a little muddy on this. I have a hard time hearing you, and maybe that's me more than you, but I'm not 100% clear, so please clear this up. This change only affects city, signs on city property.
Correct.
So we will still have a ban on smaller signs throughout the city?
Correct.
And nobody can just say, well, I want to have a smaller sign, let me take it to the planning commission. It's just not something they can do, right?
Correct.
It's,
Yes,
so
correct.
this is only about the city. Okay,
Yep.
well, that sounds better. The other question I had is, you mentioned these wayfinding signs, and in the harbor, as things explode development-wise there, that's probably going to be absolutely necessary. What do these look like? I mean, is it like a little touch screen that somebody walks up to and says, here you are, and there you're going?
To be honest, the best I can liken it to is what you see at like a shopping mall, where there's like a kind of a display that you can walk up to, and it might have,
A kiosk type?
yeah,
of a-
kiosk type thing that might be programmable and touchable, and
Yeah, the ones at the mall are typically interactive maps.
Yeah.
And so it'll say, you are here and where do you want to go? And you pick Nordstrom and it tells you where to walk to Nordstrom. So this is
It would
what,
be like that.
yeah, it'd be something like that if we have wayfinding signs.
correct.
So pretty big, huh?
Well, that's,
Less than 30 square feet. It's,
Well, the
Probably
screen
like
itself, but the unit in a
5
mall
by
is like
2.
a pillar.
5 by
they're
2.
like
yeah, it's about a
pillars.
pillar. Yeah. About
I didn't
6
know
feet
that you would
tall, 5
need
feet
something
tall.
that bulky. What do you think?
It's 5 by 2, about 10 square feet.
Okay, that's a parking space.
9 by 18.
Anyway,
like
A
it, you
bike
have
space.
something?
bike
Okay.
space. So, okay. That's all I was concerned about at this point.
Yeah, I was curious because it sounded to me to just, this is all impetus about this one sign there. And I'm just confused why there couldn't have been an exception to that sign and not have to wait 3 years to do this process. There is no mechanism in there for the city council to override it or,
No.
oh,
Yeah, zoning regulations, what you might refer to as like a variance or something for this. You can't do a variance for use. You can't like do some, if it's not identified as permitted in that zoning category, you can't like do a variance to permit something that's not even permitted. It's just, that's a hard line in zoning ordinances.
Can you put the sign back up, the sign? Okay, so
This is a concept.
I'm blocking off the bottom thing, okay? And what we have here is this really cool Redondo Beach shark. We've got these signs here, these little restaurant names. And then we've got this very tacky electronic sign that doesn't at all go along with the vibe that you've got on the right-hand picture here, where we've got this nice little harbor and this fishing vibe. And now we've got this Las Vegas type thing. I will comment that the one on Redondo Beach on Pacific Coast Highway, you can't even read that because you're going by too quick, so you don't even know what it says. But down here, there's very little traffic. I mean, people generally, if they're going to come down, they're going to make a left on Burl to take that up to Catalina. To come down here, you have bikers, you have who's ever going into this parking lot, and then you have 54 or 57 of these possible
No.
Las Vegas type signs down here. I really honestly don't think they fit in our quaint harbor. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't support this. I'm not even understanding $100,000 could, and I'm sure it's way more than that, that could go to, so many other things. I'm not understanding why that would need to go there. What benefit is that? What are we missing by not having that?
If I may, Chair, there is real-time communications that can occur, via the electronic message sign, and those include public safety messages, high surf advisories. There's a lot of information that we like to try to get out that we couldn't do on that other sign, especially in the harbor. Those are small crafts advisories, severe.
Boat launch coming in. There's going to be days where the boat launch is closed because of high wave attenuation. I mean, it
So
can be used.
I have a boat, they walk in, they drive in there, they turn around and come back out again. I mean, it's just, I don't get it. I'm sorry. Okay, Sheila?
So I'd like to, I like first principles. First principles, or looking at the root of where this came from. How did this come up?
Sign salesman.
The original staff referral for this was from Narenheim and Lowenstein, and it was for this particular sign.
Right.
The request was to allow an electronic sign to be located within the existing sign. The purpose of this sign was to promote businesses and events in and around the waterfront and the pier area, and to provide warnings to the public for harbor-related emergencies. The rationale for the electric sign was that the pier waterfront area is also an entertainment and an event venue, much like the Performing Arts Center, and the electronic sign would be appropriate to announce city events located in this area. The city council has already earmarked funding for this, which indicates their support for this endeavor. Councilman Lowenstein's view, councilman says he's in favor of allowing the electric sign for whatever reason, but is less inclined to favor electronic signs throughout the city, even on public land or city property, due to the light pollution and other related issues. So that's the root of this request.
But they're
Referral.
saying we can't just do this sign. We have to change it and allow the possibility that they would go on 50 other properties.
No, now wait. The existing code identifies two locations, the theater and
The high school.
the high school. All you need to do is add one more. That's this one. That's all you have to do. What prevents, what's the requirement that we have to, is there any requirement that we must recommend that it go citywide? I don't know.
You have it's your prerogative to make the recommendation as you see fit as this body.
Again, the intent of kind of opening it up a little bit further was for the wayfinding and out of the King Harbor's amenities plan. That's the pile-on, right?
I just want to weigh in on that.
Yeah.
When you describe the wayfinding with the little kiosk or whatever, you made that synonymous with a mall. With a mall.
We voted against that.
Do you hear what I'm saying?
Okay.
The waterfront
shoot.
is not
We never
a
built them all.
mall. It's not.
See those guys.
Electric signs go in malls. They don't go at the waterfront. And as you can see,
Hello, Senator Cal.
it upsets me
I'm upset.
that you don't see the difference. That you don't see that this is an open area. People come here because this is the quintessential small beach town. It's not a mall. How many years did we fight against a mall?
I have a little
And-
story. I'm sorry, Sheila. I do have a little story. No, I want to tell this story because it's kind of important.
Did I?
The
music
did.
is just starting.
I am sorry. That was so good. But I have a little story, okay?
And I get to
So
tell
there was
stories.
this couple, a friend of mine, this guy asked her to go to this special place. And he takes her to Redondo Pier. They live in Hollywood, okay? He takes her because this is so special. And this was like 2 years ago. Our fishing pier is that special. And you're going to put this freaking electronic sign in the middle of that? How did it get this far? This stuff just is so, it's so out of place from what that couple, and she said, oh, I've been here before. He was so excited to show her something so wonderful and so quaint that still exists in the South Bay. And yeah, it's not a mall. Okay, this is crazy. Sorry. Okay, Commissioner.
I'm sorry, stop.
Jacob.
Were you recognizing?
Jason, yes, sorry.
Me? Okay. Okay, that's a hard one to follow, but I'll try. It sounds from what I'm hearing like you guys are saying that you want us to recommend changing the ordinance so that we're not inundated with a bunch of signs, electronic signs to approve. You're shaking your head no. So what is the purpose again? Why wouldn't we just leave things exactly the way they are now?
Because council directed us to explore permitting electronic signs in the waterfront.
Okay.
We're taking council direction and bringing this before you.
Okay. So then, I think well, there's a couple things. We represent the residents of the city. Clearly, there's a lot of strong views about these things. I think that's why it's important that these things come before this body. So to say that we wouldn't be able to review anything smaller than 30 square feet, that leaves a lot of electronic signs throughout the city. Even though it's on city property, I understand that. But I feel that part of our job as a planning commission is to look at these sort of things, including if you want to put up these kiosks, electronic maps and so forth. This body should see what's proposed and have a chance to weigh in on it. So I would not be in favor of, I wouldn't recommend that this take place. I may be open to a smaller square footage, maybe something under, say, 6 square feet or below, but at 30 square feet, that's an awfully big sign. There could be a lot of light pollution throughout the city under that, so.
Yeah, Las Vegas. No, Times Square. Times Square.
Oh,
Go ahead.
hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
I waited for a while. Last thing, point of clarification. There is no advertising allowed on these signs, is that correct?
No off-site advertising, no.
So this is not a source of income for the city, these
No,
signs?
that would be considered a billboard, which is
Right,
illegal.
and
Right.
so there never could be in the future either.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Gaddis?
Yeah, in terms of the kiosks for wayfinding and stuff, do we have any reference of how effective that is, even in a mall situation? The reason I ask that is the last few times, including yesterday when I was at Del Alma Mall, I see the kiosks that you're talking about. They look kind of cool. Nobody was using them. And as a fact, I walked toward ones because we were trying to get from one thing to another. And it wasn't even clear how to use it. I mean, it looks cool, but it's just sort of like this glowing monolith, you know what I mean? And so I just pulled up a map on, Google Maps on my phone, which had the entire mall with all the stores laid out and where I am and, and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's how we got to where we were going to go. So my question is, if if part of the purpose of approving this is to open things up to putting those kiosks in, do we know that this is being used in other similar, say harbors, recreational areas, and that people actually use them and stuff?
You know, we haven't looked at other harbors to see if they have them or not. What I'll say is when we were doing the amenities plan and we were talking about wayfinding quite a bit, the just kind of layout of our harbor kind of proved to be troublesome in terms of trying to find your way. There's not a circular route you can take to be like, well, I'll start here and I'll eventually find it. Like, it's kind of a tough area to navigate. So having some kind of interactive map that says you are here, this is the best way to get over here.
And where you're trying to go, there's no way to get there? As I was
Yeah,
trying,
there's dead
no,
ends, right?
I'm
Yeah.
serious about that.
You can't
because
get there from here.
I was trying to give somebody directions today from the Project Barley on the International Boardwalk to Tony's.
Right.
Okay, so if you're gonna park at the one side to get to Project Barley, you know, and they said, well, we have one person in a wheelchair,
Oh.
Right.
and they want to get from Project Barley to Tony's.
Right.
Little long.
And there's no street names. There's no, hang a left here, hang a right there.
I'm not
It's
sure
tough.
there is any way to do that.
I think you could, the ramp around
Go
the
back
skate
to-
park.
You have to go back to Captain Kidd's and around.
You take the elevator.
That's what the kiosk
The
would do.
elevator or the
It's an
Captain Kidd.
adventure.
Okay.
You take the elevator and go through the parking lot.
Okay.
Yeah, you have
Okay.
to, if it's
Yeah,
working.
Commissioner Light.
This particular sign here, if I'm getting this, well, I'll wait till you're done.
I'm sorry.
This particular sign, you're talking about the electronic parts, the 7-year on-site replacement service?
That's
Is
what,
that
Yeah,
correct?
that's right. I don't-
The
I'm not
rest
even sure
is
what that
not
means, but-
electronic, that's going to be the same kind of,
No.
because I think that's a really crappy example.
Oh, yeah.
First
that
off, it
there.
looks like an ad and it's
It does look like an
confusing.
ad. What is it?
So I really, that was a really bad
Yeah,
idea,
that,
which I think,
that wasn't well thought out.
yeah, rubs some people here some raw nerves about malls. You don't want to necessarily say that to a lot of us up here that had to fight a mall. I'm not opposed to the idea that there's informational and warning signs. I've just started going to that yacht club here, and there's days when I went there and there was waves coming over, it was closed. It would really be nice that there's ways to know that without having to drive all the way on those little streets to get there. I do see safety reasons for having an electronic sign, like all those kind of ideas. But I'm just not clear why this rule, because they couldn't make a variance just for this place. You just let us know why it is that there isn't a way to change that you could make a variance and not keep the planning commission. Because it sounds like the city council is going to do this whether or not we say anything.
Well, I don't know. They may not actually.
Well, I'm just hearing, if the city
could.
council put the money for it, I think that's a good chance they want to do it. But that's neither here nor there. My question is, why isn't there a simpler way to go about this? Change the rules on this, that the zone can permit it with approval of the planning commission or even administrative. Why does it have to be all 57 of these places can build these signs here? And why does Wayfair need to be in it at all? At this point is my question.
Yeah.
So, yeah, why 57 properties? Why not just this?
I will say one thing. If you're at the yacht club, you're not going to see that sign. If you come down the way you would come, which would be down Burl, you're
I'm
never
not saying
gonna
it
see
needs
that.
to be this sign. There should be more of them. It would be really good to have one that as you coming
Maybe
down
the
here.
yacht club could put a
Yeah.
don't go in the water today.
Or you could check
Yeah.
the internet before you come down.
Yeah.
We considered nuances to this a little bit. Obviously, we thought about, well, what if we limited it to the CC zones? But that's other properties that aren't city-owned, right? That's potentially private development that could then apply to, and we really just wanted it to the city-owned harbor, right? So we thought the best way was just to kind of open it up. to all the city-owned ones, but
Commissioner Lamb and then.
Just a point of clarification again. We could recommend that the only change that is made is to add this sign onto the code, right, where it says, instead of going to the public institutional zones, let's see, if you wouldn't mind to put up the text. Right. That's city-owned property requirements.
Oh, you're looking for the.
So I'm really looking for the existing text that,
Yeah, 1 through 15.
I can find
right, that says electronic signs are allowed in, for theaters and schools. And just add the sign on Harbor Drive. That's all you have to do.
there's a few of them.
Hmm?
There's a few of those freestanding signs that face Harbor Drive. I think we would just need to get more specific, but I get where you're going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? We could recommend that, could we not?
Sure.
And I think that goes to your point, Mr. Commissioner Light.
Yeah, that'd be a little more prone to misuse by somebody down the road with evil intent to make us Times Square on our public.
If it's only one, we're just adding the one sign, right? We're not adding
Right.
57 properties.
Why couldn't additional signs come back before this commission if they wanted?
Right.
Yeah, why can't it be made so that it is still because it can't be done now.
Yeah.
And if you just make it so it could be, and then it kind of keeps it from, there's one more check and balance to make sure that it's not misused.
Aren't you
And I think-
recommending just the one sign?
I'm just
Right.
recommending the one sign that, so here's the other issue, is there's, signs are part of city communication. And I was hearing that there is some interest in improving resident communication between the city and the residents. But that could come under the purview of the new communications director, right, who's coming on board. But I agree with everyone here that in the future, any electronic signs should come through this body of any size, because we represent the residents. And I think the residents have a lot to say about electronic signs. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
That's our recommendation.
yeah, Commissioner Boswell.
So, thank you. So these 57 properties around the city, is there a sign somebody is thinking of putting on one of these other properties that requires them to all be included? Why can't we just have this one property, the harbor area?
It's not one property, that's the problem.
Yeah, it's a.
So the harbor property is not actually considered one property.
Right.
How many properties is it?
15 to 20?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 37 other properties? Is there a sign that somebody's thinking needs to be in North Redondo on a city property, or Central Redondo, or Inland Redondo, or somewhere outside of the harbor area?
Not our intent, no. Yeah.
Then why are we considering that? Why are we having to expand it to all city properties?
Again, the intent wasn't to do that. It was to best explain all the properties in the harbor. Maybe we could do a better job of that.
Well, yeah. If you said, well, there are 15 or so properties in the harbor area, we would like to expand this to those properties, it would be perfectly clear that it's not something that's going to show up in every block of the city at some point. You don't know who's going to have your job after you, you know, or who's going to have Sean's, or who's going to be the mayor, or who's going to be on the city council that has stock in the sign business. So we shouldn't be expanding this beyond what's clearly requested, which is a sign in the harbor. And I think that there's a lot to be said for having an electronic sign that can, on a moment's notice, change the information, especially when the surf is bad or there are other, hazardous situations, people can be warned of immediately, as opposed to finding out on their own the hard way. But to expand this to all over the city, just because they're all city properties, I don't see why that was necessary. And if it's not, let's just keep it to the properties in the harbor, where the increased development in the harbor and all the new stuff that's going to go in there over the next several years, it might well be really hard to find stuff. So, yeah. Perhaps there should also be an online app that people can subscribe to that'll tell you, you should not park over there if you're going to go to Tony's in a wheelchair. So an online app would probably be as useful.
I think the weather app says a lot of that stuff. Don't go out there, please. Okay,
Don't
thank
go
you
out
so
there, there's
much.
water.
Yeah, Commissioner
It's
Craig.
over your head.
Well, kind of piggyback on what Mr. Boswell, Commissioner Boswell just said, is that I know the harbor has lots of properties, and I could speak firsthand that the residents of Redondo don't want them all. I mean, I was sued over that. So at any rate, I'm fighting to prevent that from happening. But is there a way that you could just say in the harbor area, because obviously there's an exemption here for the coastal plan. I mean, it seems like we'll allow one sign within the coastal plan, and that's the one sign.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
We're doing it citywide for the cannabis distribution. We're only allowing 2 in the whole city. Well, it seems like we can make some wording similar to that for the coastal zone, I would think.
Yeah, I was kind of playing with the language, and we could, if you could go to the top part, Stephen, and where it says, and city-owned properties within the harbor pier area.
There we go.
Yeah. Just put one sign, and because going with the directional signs, I know that's kind of a concept idea right now, but we're still working on the harbor amenities. We don't know where these directional signs may or may not be used. And the other thing is too, the other thing you notice if you look at those directional signs in malls, kids like to graffiti them. These are going to be outside in the elements. They're going to be probably damaged. I don't know how. I mean, in the future, when we figure out where these are going to go, maybe we could open it back at that time. But it seems like the one directional sign, getting to, I'm glad that Commissioner Lamb brought up the history of that too, because I heard the same thing from council members Nierenheim and Lowenstein, is that they were just looking for something more for, public safety type of things, just event parking or something minor, just specifically to some events, and then having it turn off at certain times. They were, adamant about that, and they, their constituents are in that immediate area, and they reported that they seemed in favor of it just for that one location. But I think like the rest of the panel, Commissioner, I'm not speaking for everyone, I think the first time you said 57 properties, I mean, we all had an abject look of horror on our faces, thinking that this would be all over the city, and that,
Would you say that again, Sean? You're
Yeah,
talking
and
about.
then, so, gosh, I wish I could, I can't show the screen, can I? No, this one's, I don't know why.
What are you showing?
What's that?
Which page are you showing?
I'm in the actual draft, the Word document for the reso. Okay, I wonder if would that show the one I'm working on? Yeah, here, let me save it. And then I have another recommendation based on everything I'm hearing. So I'll close that. And then, oh,
Trying to show your screen.
What happened?
there we go. Yeah, and then go down to, so within the harbor pier area, so it's just city-owned properties limited to the harbor pier area. And then I'm hearing the planning commission wants to probably lower that 30 square foot threshold and maybe make that like
Where they can land.
10.
All electronic signs.
No,
Well.
that's a possibility of being a ton of signs down
Okay,
there.
so you want to retain all
one.
Well, this
No, I
body
hear
may
you.
decide they want 30 electronic signs down at the pier. I don't want one. So, I mean, I know. But
then it would
we can do some kind of a motion here. Yeah.
Well, the question was
Go.
about
Go ahead.
10, what's the size limit for it has to come here? Do we have any consensus among us on that?
So the other point.
Is it 0? Is it 10?
All
Zero.
electronic signs
It's
should
0,
be vetted.
okay.
Order in the court.
Yes.
Well, right now we have a 30 square foot limit
Yeah.
threshold.
Way too big.
Is the city responsible for the maintenance of the sign at the Performing Arts Center?
Non-performing.
And all the other. others.
I think so, yes. I mean, we manage and
He's paying all
own
the
that
bills.
facility, so I would say yes.
Which one's
Because
working?
in addition to the substantial outlay to purchase the sign, maintenance is required. And I can tell you for myself, I go to Costco and Trader Joe's in that area, and quite often that sign doesn't work properly.
The Performing Arts Center?
Yeah,
Non-performing.
I drive
arts.
past it often
It's
and
working today.
today it's working.
I like the one that had
My
your
point
Gina
is
in the
this,
front.
as
Wind has to be
as
behind it.
nice and effective as some people may think these
Wind cover.
electronic signs are, when they go out and they don't work the way they're supposed to, it's an eyesore. And the other signs like we have currently, they're not relying on electricity and, they don't go out when water gets in them and so on and so forth. So I would just say, I hope that if the city council decides to move forward with the electronic sign in that location, that they're also earmarking enough money to keep it maintained properly and so that it's not down a third or a quarter of the time. And then to your other point, yeah, I feel that or at least I'll speak for myself, I'm in favor of approving that one sign and adding it to the language there, but any additional signs, regardless of what city property it may be on, should come before this commission.
So then we would remove the strike through of any electronic signage, message display sign, regardless of sign area, shall be subject to planning commission design review.
Right.
Yes.
The
You
AUP
remove
process
that
would be gone.
strikeout.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
You remove that strikeout. And you remove the underlined and,
Yeah,
right, and you just remove the,
Right.
yep, and we would remove that proposed amendment.
right. And how about the city-owned property?
The
Right?
city-owned property, that would be just in the harbor area.
Okay.
Restricted to
Yeah.
that.
No.
Because right now, the way it's written, if we strike all that, we can't, the city wouldn't be able to put an electronic message center sign in the watershed area, in the harbor pier area. Because it's
Okay.
only in the P zone,
Okay,
and that's
so,
not the zone down there.
right, there's a section, if you go up, there's a section that says, okay, there we go. The electronic message display shall be on a site having a live performance theater with seating and capacity of not less than 1,000 seats. Okay, so this is saying electronic message displays.
Yeah,
This
we'd
is
have to
A,
go back, yeah.
right? Electronic message displays may be permitted, subject to planning commission design review, provided that all the following standards are met. Okay.
Right, so,
Okay, one standard, if you want to add this sign, one standard you could add would be to add the sign, you could, you'd have to craft the language to say that one sign, right, in the harbor that is, how many feet high is that? Right, the marina sign,
Existing.
right? In order to add this, you have to add the standard that the electronic signs have to meet, right? So this one says,
Okay.
again,
Sheila, before we start changing all of this, can we see first off, did you want to make a motion that we would have that one sign down there? Is that the idea before we go ahead and change all of this? Is that what you want to do? And then we can vote on that? And then if that, or no signs?
that sounds great.
I mean,
Either
before
one.
we go to change all of this and then, it's work that may not.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Absolutely.
Okay, so, anybody want to start?
Are there any other
Any other
questions?
comments?
Any other comments?
No? Okay.
I'm curious, how many of us want this one sign because it's already had sort of semi-approval of the council, and how many of us want no signs?
Well, I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that
Well,
the
no, but
council already wants it.
No, it-
Is this sign a benefit to the city?
Well, they
Who
want
cares if
their-
the city
that's
council
okay.
wants it or
That's right.
not?
It's
That's right.
either one sign or something else.
Do we
Who's in
agree
favor of
with,
one sign, really?
That's a better way of putting
Well,
it.
you can start at 57. Who's in favor of 57? I think we got unanimous on that.
How many do we have for 56?
I think we know.
Right, we got the answer on that.
We got the answer on that.
okay, then
Who's in favor of one sign?
of one sign?
I'm okay with one
I'm
sign.
okay with one sign.
For now.
Okay, so then we can, okay, so then we need, do we need the motion before you change this, Sean, or you change
No,
it
we
first?
can, we're in discussion and
Craft
we
it
can
and vote
craft
on it.
this
Okay,
and then.
okay. So we're going to change all of this to say only that one
Yeah,
sign.
so. it-
Can I
okay.
clarify, those two pictures there are the same sign, right?
Yeah.
Times, I think, yeah.
Different
They're really not.
They don't look,
They're not the same
They're
sign.
there's like a
No.
tree missing from one picture and,
Yeah.
you know.
Take a decade to learn.
Yeah, I'll make it.
If I had to pick one, it wouldn't
So,
be
you
hard
know-
to know which one I'd pick.
Is,
from
yeah,
that.
is this, this is truly one sign, right? Just
Yes,
at
it
different
is.
periods
just
of
one
time.
sign.
And probably what
Okay.
we ought to do
Different signs.
is
It was highlighted.
incorporate
I don't know.
as a, because we're going to take, staff's recommendation and we're going to take whatever we come up with here. And rather than crafting the ordinance, we state what the, what it is that we're going to come up with as a separate, exhibit to this proposed ordinance. So it's just,
Essentially, we're going to be taking the ordinance as presented to you to city council, and then we're going to tell them what your thoughts on it were, what your recommendation was to change.
Okay,
I vote
Yeah.
against that.
I vote against that.
Yeah.
Against them
What was that?
explaining what we did?
Yeah,
Yeah, because that doesn't work out too well.
As written.
We would have to, well, not
doesn't
only
tend to-
that, it would have to pass us that
like the game of
resolution.
telephone.
And who wants to vote on the resolution or the resolution number as it came to us? I mean, does anybody approve of resolution number 2024 PCR as it came to us?
No.
No, so,
No.
but you.
No.
So your recommendation would be denial, straight up?
yeah, straight up
Or-
denial.
No, we want to
Or
craft this so that
approval
just one
with these
sign.
changes.
Approval with
Modifications.
changes.
Yeah.
Right,
Right.
with the one sign.
But just, yeah, we would say one sign
Not all of the
at the
harbor,
proposed
just that one
location.
sign.
Not all of the city, just the one
Only
sign.
Yeah, just the one sign.
And the
Right.
30-foot thing is a moot point if it's just this one sign, whatever size it is. Is that
Right.
what you're saying?
How big
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah,
It doesn't
Otherwise,
matter
it's got to,
because
otherwise it has
no
to come
sign.
back to
Yeah.
this.
So one electronic sign at the location presented,
That sign.
and it's required to come to the planning commission for design review.
Correct.
Yes.
That's fine.
That's how it is right
Also-
now. That's how
Aren't we
it's
sort
written
of
right
doing
now.
that right now, though?
Right, that's where she was going.
No, we're not. We're just putting, making a recommendation.
Not
Okay, so
the-
let's have one,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
so I'm going to make a motion.
Wait,
Okay,
wait,
Hold
I
on
have a
one
question.
second. The motion is to deny this resolution. Okay, this resolution that came to us, do I have to read the whole thing?
Oh, no.
Okay,
mean-
2024
Oh,
PR.
we have to close the public
PCR.
hearing? I guess not.
Is there any other public comment? We didn't ask that.
Was there anybody,
Is there any
We
public
open
comment?
There is no public comment.
we're just partying up here.
We can close it, I suppose.
Okay, so
Let's just.
can
approve
we,
electronic
okay, does
signs for
anybody want
everywhere.
to
Blame it on the
second my
citizens for
motion?
not
That would be
speaking
to
up.
deny or not approve this resolution that came to us tonight
written.
as written in J1.
I'll second that.
Okay, and can we have a roll call vote on that, please?
Commissioner Light?
I
Commissioner,
agree with this. Just
You-
make sure I'm
yeah,
saying that
you
right.
do
Yeah,
not
I'm voting
approve.
right. Aye.
Okay, I'm unsure as to what we're voting on.
Okay, so they wanted us to do was approve this resolution, which would have been all 57 signs. We are saying we don't approve this resolution. We deny the resolution.
As written.
Oh,
As
so we're
written.
just, okay, so that's just the first step.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, I agree.
Okay,
I agree, yes.
yes.
I agree.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so 7,
We unanimously reject the resolution.
we reject the resolution as presented to us.
Now.
Okay, now, did we need more discussion on what we do want? We need to change all of this, Sheila?
So wanted a point of clarification. I heard moments ago that what you will be presenting to the council is staff's recommendation to approve this resolution.
That's correct. Yes.
Right. And then.
And your
then-
recommendation.
And that our recommendation then would be reject this resolution.
As you just voted
As
on
we
it.
just did.
With, I think it was reject with as written.
As written.
Right.
And then you're going to fill out the remainder of the sentence with your recommended changes to the
Right.
ordinance.
Approved as follows.
And then you as staff are going to present ours. Here's what the planning commission is recommending, and here's what we as staff are recommending, a
No,
separate
it'll be more the
recommendation.
opposite. No. I mean, we don't, we'll just present the item with both recommendations.
Okay.
Staff's recommendation, which is as written,
Right.
Correct.
and our recommendation, which is we're about to.
Which we would
Craft.
probably craft some, edits into it, not the document that we're proposing that they approve, but, just to strike through and show what your recommendation looks like.
And
We might do that.
would it be appropriate to put in some whereas from our position? Whereas we believe that electronic signs X, right, don't belong, 57 throughout the city don't reflect our brand, or, I don't know if we want to craft that now.
We could accompany whatever your recommended changes are, that could accompany, and we would certainly identify what's in your motion, which would include some justifying, qualifying statements.
Do we draft a recommendation, or are we just going to create it on the fly right now?
Right.
Oh, great question.
Shirley?
Yeah, I am a little disturbed by a couple of things. One, I don't want it to seem like it's planning commission thinks that we got to say on this. We're not elected people, we're appointed people. It's a city council that makes this determination. That stated, I'm not real nuts about saying we don't believe in electric signs. I do believe that informational safety signs, electrical, are the future. I'm not saying we have to go out and put up that, these little pieces of plastic one at a time to communicate with the public is the best way to do things. I think there's got to be a middle ground in there somewhere. And I guess we were a few of us kind of bothered by the idea that it would go to administrative review and they would decide which of the 57 signs were going to happen. And I think if we just got rid of that component, I'm on board with keeping it a little more open-ended, that down the road, if there's a justification for informational signs in some public institutional location, great, bring it to us. And then
But I think that's what this would allow, even if we specify approval of this sign, adding that to the two that are already approved, the high school and the Performing Arts Center. So we would be adding this sign to those two signs. But if somebody wanted to do another electronic sign on city property or not city property, it would still have to come to us.
City property.
Correct, yes, if it's over 30 square feet.
But we're
Unless you're
rejecting
getting
Unless
rid
we
of that. So
change that.
any electronic message sign would have to come.
Any electronic message sign would
I
have to
think
come
the
to us
size
for
is
approval.
zero.
Yeah. So the size,
What we're leaning towards.
size doesn't matter.
Size doesn't. All right, I've heard that.
Okay, is that what you're looking for? Is that the objective you're recommending, you'd like?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is.
This would achieve that.
Because the code, I think the code.
And the example I gave was just an example. I wasn't, that nobody likes electronic signs.
Yeah, but I think.
It was just an example.
It's certainly not
Have an example. They like
We may not
electronic.
like them, but there's a justification. for
If
them.
if it's a public safety justification, to me,
Yeah.
I'm on.
Well, you know, when
Otherwise,
you-
We're wide open to that, right?
Yeah, we're talking about the water and everything, wouldn't, we should just have them on the lifeguard stations, on every one, high surf, rip tides.
Well, the
They
one that
still
comes to
run.
mind is tsunamis. If there's an earthquake out, 1,000 miles away, we could have a giant wave coming here. One more way of getting that information to people ain't a bad thing instantaneously.
We still have those sirens, don't we?
No,
I
that's
hope
not
so.
how it would be
Hey,
communicated,
hey,
guys.
hey.
It comes across your cell phone. You get an alert on your cell phone.
Run away.
Earthquake.
Run away.
Literally would get an alert on your cell phone. Everybody's got a cell phone up here, I see. We would be getting that alert on our cell
Yeah, I'm
phones.
looking for tsunami
And
warnings right
very little traffic is going to see, with all of Redondo, there's probably going to be about 20 people that see that sign. I mean, it really truly is at the end of the street.
I'm not saying it's just that sign. If there's a different public safety need, I don't think we should be getting in the way of it. I don't think the directional thing is a.
But should we have approval power over it?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
We don't
Yeah,
approve
that's what we're
anything.
doing.
We're all saying the same thing.
So do you have specific
Recommend.
language changes you'd like to make to what we've been presented, right? And you started going through those.
I did.
And should we proceed with
Yes,
that?
let's do that.
And now is the time to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's start from, if we could start from the top here.
From the top.
You want to do a
Right,
whereas there, or?
There we go.
Okay.
Okay, so this is, section 10-2.1814. This is signage, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, sign regulations.
Okay, public zone and city-owned property requirements. Next section is about just signs, not electronic signs. And we're adding city-owned properties within the harbor and pier area, right? So we're talking about these signs. Okay, and we have to put that in because we're talking about the marina sign. Okay, so then we go to A, electronic message displays. Oh, no, wait,
Yeah.
right? Planning Commission design, let's see. Here we go.
Yeah.
Any new sign or change in existing sign that exceeds 30 square feet, subject to Planning Commission review, any new sign or change in existing, other than change of copy that is 30 square feet or
You
less.
want that scratched,
Shall
right?
be
that
subject
out.
to administrative design review. This is not electronic signs. Are we okay with this? This is how it is today.
It's just for any sign.
Yeah,
Okay.
any sign, this
Okay,
is how it is
okay,
for
okay.
today.
So we don't have to change that.
Don't have to change
This is the
that.
existing language that's,
Yeah.
Sean, this is the existing language right now
Yeah, it
that's in
is.
effect.
And
Okay.
and that
Except for the
threshold-
underlined.
Correct, yes. But that 30-foot, square foot threshold for any sign, an electronic message center is any sign.
Okay,
So
so,
it captures, so that 30 square foot or less in area shall be subject to administrative design review would apply to an electronic message, except for where was the sentence about all electronic message?
Right, it's A. Says, subject to Planning Commission
Yeah,
review,
Yeah,
provided.
so then that caveats it
That
out.
says any sign.
Yeah,
for
so the
electric.
smaller
So that
sign.
caveats
Right.
it out. So there's no size limit on electronic message signs.
We just need
They
to
all
add,
come to you.
there needs to be
Right.
something after this section, because right now the way it's written, that it can only go in a live
Yeah.
performance or theater.
So-
So we need to add some kind of use for the waterfront in this section.
Yeah, so we need to get something in
Yeah.
there to allow it to be in the harbor area,
Correct.
an electronic message sign.
Harbor area.
And one of those 15 includes the school, right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like,
There we go, site having or on a site having a school.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the one, right?
Yeah, there it is.
school, and,
3.
you know,
Or theater.
or maybe 1, you know, so it's 3 and 1. Shall
Or
be on the
school.
site having a live performance. We need to add and the Harbor Pier and 1 in the Harbor Pier area on number 1 after school.
Right.
Just for the
Right.
one location.
So like
Could-
after
could it be
school
in
there?
2?
Yeah.
Could it be?
School
Oh, maybe
or
do
the Harbor
underline?
City.
Can you do
Yeah.
underline?
Yeah,
Our track changes.
Shall be on the site having a live performance
So-
theater with.
Or, no,
Here?
or no,
Business on the
and,
site having a school.
you know, the electronic shall be on the site having a live performance theater with ascending. Okay, or
yeah,
on the site having a school or
city-owned property in the
One
harbor and pier area.
city-owned property within the Harbor Pier area.
Right.
Wait. How do we specifically say just that sign, though?
Let's see, or city.
And has already been approved by the city council.
Well,
say
no, but that
or
doesn't,
they
they
haven't-
could decide not to
I'm
do it,
joking.
because it goes to them. They could
or
decide they don't want to spend the
city-owned
100,000 on it.
properties, Let's see,
You
That's
never know.
fine, that's fine.
or.
It's a
let's
different
see,
decision.
Yeah.
What, does that sign have a name or something?
No.
Harbor sign or.
Marina
Big
sign.
ugly
Okay,
sign.
so-
Marina.
Yeah, what's the top of it say, Marina?
Yeah, did-
Redondo Beach
Marina sign on Harbor Drive or whatever that
Redondo
is.
Beach Marina actually exists. Is there something actually labeled Redondo Beach Marina?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, a marina.
The Marina's
King
on
Harbor.
the
And maybe,
where
you
all
know,
those boats are.
So it would be,
Okay, I just
or-
never hear that referred to as
Identified
the
as marina.
Because
I
the,
hear
that
it,
one
yeah,
to the
the
north is
harbor
called the
piece,
marina.
Not the marina.
Because the one to the north already grabbed that
so once we get that language, we can put it everywhere
nickname.
Yeah,
that we need to.
If they wanted to add a second sign, they would still
Or-
need to come before us. We're not giving up that.
that's right.
Yeah.
And then
But it
I'd like
doesn't
to
say
add-
that in what we have here so far.
Yeah, where do we
It
put
doesn't
that?
say only one sign.
well, right
That's what we
now,
need.
it's development standard
This
7
is-
already limits it to 1 sign per site. The
No more than
existing-
one elected shall put it on a site. Oh, it does say it. All right.
Yeah,
I
so
got
we're
you.
already limited to 1 per
And then
site.
maybe, so maybe we say, we could go back up
Specifically
to that one,
on a
Stephen.
site.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll leave
Or
it-
city
I'll leave
owned-
it
We should say
there.
harbor, because we're limiting
Yeah.
at the harbor already.
City
Back up
owned
to
site?
3,
What?
back up to,
Or city-owned property, maybe,
Within the harbor.
Property, city-owned property.
within the Harbor Pier area.
you know,
And then it's limited to 1 per site.
and 1 per site.
Now, does this
And there's
mean-
already an
what's a site?
existing one.
Per this
Didn't
site.
you say
Right.
the harbor
What's a
area is
site?
made up
'Cause
of
there's
multiple
15 properties.
properties, though?
Yeah,
It
but
would
I
just
think
One
that is a
the site
Well,
of 15
you gotta put
properties?
one in the harbor area, you have to leave it there. You can't specify one of the, was there
should it-
17 or something, or 20?
Or
Uh,
on a
city-owned.
site having a school or city-owned property within the Harbor Pier.
It's also extremely atypical for a zoning code to pick out one address or one site for the zoning, because even the way the code is written now, it's all schools and all live performance theaters
Right.
citywide. It's not just
Right.
one school and one live performance theater.
Yeah, you have to
I
limit
have a
to the
little
area.
caveat for that. For the RCFE on Nob Hill,
Kensington,
Sean, I know you'll recognize this.
yeah.
It says all, let's see, RCFEs that are 1,000 feet from the shore, or something, right, are allowed in the coastal zone.
Mhm.
That are near X, right? That legislation was made specifically for that RCFE to
right.
go on the Nob Hill school site. And they did that by identifying that specific property by saying it can only be 1,000 feet, right? So if they could do that, we could do this. We could use that this is 1,000, a
West of
certain
Harbor
number of
Drive.
feet from
Would you say west of Harbor Drive?
west of Harbor Drive, right? West of Harbor Drive.
Well, except for the rest of it's not
Well, it used to go
west of
through.
Harbor. The pier and everything is west of Torrance
Well,
Boulevard, so.
It used to go through.
Yeah, and then maybe go down to the limit on the one
Yeah, you
per
can do
site.
10 feet, I
We
guess.
can add something there that just says one per the harbor, the city-owned property within the harbor pier area.
Harbor
More than
pier area
one
west of
electronic
PCH.
message display shall be permitted on a site.
It already says any new
Yeah,
sign.
yeah,
And
Electronic
And-
message may be.
this
single
electronic
face,
message display may be single face or double
No
face. I
more
think
than
that
one electronic message
I mean, it's-
display shall be
it's
permitted on
clear
a site.
that that the commission is only looking at this one site at the one location, and we can make that language work.
this is already a list of allowances. It says any new sign has to come before this commission. And then it says, and if you want to put in a sign anywhere that doesn't meet all of these criteria, it's not even going to come to us to consider. So these are the only ones we would consider. So just by saying in the harbor area, that means, oh, okay, we could bring it to the planning commission for review.
No, but we didn't want the administration to be making, look, we probably won't, all of us be here when a new, when a new sign comes in front of us. But we want the planning commission, future planning commissions to make that decision on any new sign, not for it to go to the administration to make.
Agreed.
So that needs to be strike. Is that what you're saying?
It says subject to planning commission design review. That's us.
Where are you?
On A,
A.
Oh,
And then below that, basically, it says, these are the criteria you must meet in order to even present it to us. Otherwise, it's a
Right.
no-go, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's already restrictive.
Yeah, oh, very.
And then down below, I forgot the number where it says only one per.
Yes,
It says
7.
only one per site. And then we talked about, well, there's multiple sites.
can we change the
Area.
word site?
Well,
Harbor
site
area?
and property, is that one and the same?
yeah,
Because you say, I mean, it's not 15 properties on a site.
Yeah, no.
correct. Yeah, we're looking
Okay.
more like APNs or addresses.
Okay.
The way it's written now is even the sign in question will still have to come forward to you,
Yeah, right.
you anyways.
So could would that be too specific on a site to say in harbor area? On number 7, or am I?
Well, then I would
Oh, we
It's
have
already
that
captured
already.
by,
Okay, okay.
Right.
yeah, it's already
right,
captured by
right.
one. One already captures it.
Okay.
Covers it, yeah,
Okay.
that's true.
Can we go back to that 30 square feet portion real quick? And yeah, in the beginning, any new sign or change to existing sign other than a change of copy that is 30 square feet or less in area shall be subject to administrative design review.
That's
So-
existing.
Still have the 30 square feet issue there.
But
So
that's
the-
not
so the thing
electronic
is
For
signs.
non-electronic?
Correct,
Not
correct.
electronic.
So A captures
We
all
add
electronic
something there
signs.
that says non-electronic?
It's just,
you-
because it already
it's
says that by
redundant?
any,
Okay.
yeah. I think
Sign
it
or
breaks it
change.
down
A
into
captures that
electronic.
portion for you
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
A
All right,
clarifies that all electronic signs go.
So
Yeah.
just so that you know, I haven't spoken with Councilmember Narenheim, but I have spoken with Councilmember Lowenstein, and he supports this, what we're talking about.
Yeah, I spoke with Councilmember Narenheim before the meeting tonight. He did
And
exactly
also
the
with
same
just
thing.
one
And he
sign?
supports,
Just one sign and this one specific location for this one purpose.
Right, so
And
when you
Lowenstein
bring it-
and they both told me that today.
right, so when you bring it back, right, when you bring it to the council, they're going to know, right? The two council members certainly will know. That they won't be in the dark.
Yeah.
That they wanted only that one sign, those two council people.
We'll find out when we bring it to them.
What do the other council members want?
We'll find
Anybody
out.
know?
Okay.
We didn't speak with them.
Motion to approve the language.
Finish that?
Are we done?
Do we
Or
finish
do we have
that,
other
Sheila?
changes?
I don't know. Are we?
Sheila,
I have
did
to
we
make these same
finish?
changes in the coastal section.
Okay.
Motion to approve the language as amended.
Amended.
Second?
Okay, can we get a?
Oh,
do we need to
wait.
change? Do we need to?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same language.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's the
this
same
is
It's a
10-5?
Chapter 5, yeah.
Correct.
copy paste.
We'll make the mirror changes.
Okay.
Is there anything else? Can you
Oh.
whip up there real quick so we can see, is there anything else we need to change?
Right, there's nothing in here about the Harbor Commission. Does there need to be something about the?
So there's already language, it's under the Harbor Commission purview. I don't remember what section that is, but it pretty much says for all entitlements other than zone changes and general plan amendments, where it says it has, where the code says it's a planning commission purview, it's actually Harbor Commission purview. So you guys won't even be looking at this.
So we're gonna get overruled anyway.
That's fine.
But you're creating checks and balances here, so it's
Yes.
worthwhile.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
motion to approve language as amended.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, then could we get the vote on that?
Commissioner Light,
Aye.
Commissioner Boswell,
Yes.
Commissioner Craig,
Aye.
Commissioner Gaddis,
Aye.
Commissioner Conroy,
Aye.
Commissioner Lamb,
Aye.
Chairperson Hazeltine.
I'm a no.
Oh.
Sorry, guys, I don't want to sign down there.
You're on record as a non-signer.
Okay.
I'm a non-signer. I'm a non-signer. Okay, great.
All right,
That's good.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Anything.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we don't have any items from previous agenda. Do we have items from staff?
Just an apology that we didn't get the election for chair and vice chair on the agenda this time. And I'm way behind on minutes, so we're going to load you guys up in December.
Okay.
We'll make sure we get those on there.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Anything from up
items.
here? Yes,
Yes.
Sheila.
So I've gotten some calls and some interests about the food trucks, complaints about food trucks.
Really?
And I noticed that in the municipal code, that food trucks do not need, are not required to have a business license in Redondo Beach.
Why would that?
So, and is that going to change?
It's not on our radar.
My understanding of the food trucks is that it's very limited to certain areas in the city, and there's only certain streets that their food trucks are, essentially street vendors are allowed on for food like that. And then the food trucks for the ones that are based outside the city, I think they still need a business license.
Yeah, I wish Greg didn't leave, because actually they issue, he's aware of, I think, the locations that Stephen's referring to, where they do allow vending, street vendors, food vendors, and food trucks. And again, those are in the right of way, it's outside of the purview of the zoning ordinance. So it's in another section of our municipal code. We'd have to take a look at those regulations. Yeah, it's not.
What about the ones that are in parking lots of existing
I know,
businesses?
yeah,
That's
those.
private property, that's quite different.
Yeah.
But I've seen trucks parked in front of like apartment buildings, residential
Right.
streets. That, I don't see how that could be allowed.
Well, it's it's not precluded from being allowed in the zoning ordinance, because the zoning stops at the property line.
Is that
So-
like a construction thing that you're seeing, like workers and then they come up or what?
No.
In the evening, check out the tire place
Yeah,
at
right.
PCH
Yeah.
and Barrel.
Yeah.
And there'll be a taco truck there.
And he's
But you
there
know what?
all the
I'm
time.
pretty sure that they're licensed to, the tire place, they're licensed to make and serve food. I think that's been expired for a while.
Huh.
It's just, I can
Okay.
tell by the flavor of the tires.
Oh, you. Okay,
that's-
Sheila, where are the
that's
complaints
the-
coming in from?
That's the same taco truck I'm speaking about. And that taco truck would park on the parking lot of the tire place.
Right.
But now I see it's parked on a
Yeah.
residential street.
Yeah,
That's different.
For it to park on a private parking lot, that's, then that falls under our purview. It would have to be associated with some temporary use permit. Sometimes that can allow for that. Otherwise, it's not permitted.
That's
know,
what I
It's not a
figured.
food
Yeah.
business.
Yeah, but it's resident, it's not zoned for commercial. It's like, if it was parked in front of your house, you would complain.
Yeah, we get a lot of requests for food truck home occupation. So usually it's the resident living in Redondo Beach who wants to operate the food truck in other cities or even in Redondo. And we typically will deny those because the rules for home occupation mean that when you're looking at the house from the street, it looks like a house, including the storage of your business items. So the food truck itself would have to be only stored in the garage, which most cannot.
I mean, I like the idea of food trucks, but I think it needs to be done responsibly. And what my concern is with this truck, if nobody's noticing, and then we're going to start having more trucks parked in residential areas.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something the city could look into, is like having either a city lot or something once a week or on the weekends, have trucks that come in. I think it would be a great
I think they
attraction.
do up at the Performing Arts Center when they have their,
There you go.
Yeah, they do.
Well, maybe there
Yeah.
needs to be one in South Redondo too. I don't know.
yeah.
But you can't have them parking on residential
Yeah,
streets.
Are they actually getting a lot of business? That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Allowed to park on
Nice.
residential streets.
Sheila,
I mean,
where are
they
your
can
complaints
park,
coming in from?
but not,
The one
you know,
on
not
Burl.
operate
the
a
one on
business
Burl.
out of that food
Oh,
truck
what's
where
the
they
purpose? They like
park.
a-
Well, it's been sitting,
On a
There's only-
residential
yeah,
street,
the whole
as long as
tree.
they
You
know how I
park,
feel
they
about
just leave the
lights.
truck there. They can't actually
it
stand by.
has, it has a
Right.
giant LED screen.
Then they show
Correct.
I don't know what, yeah, the thing is.
Children,
like,
children.
dancing enchiladas,
It's got to be electronic signs.
Indoor
I had no
chairperson.
idea.
And I
We
have
need
it
to
on good
look into
authority,
this.
the food's really good.
So, but they can't sell
I'm in favor
tacos
of
if
parking
they're
in
on
a
a
parking lot.
residential street.
Okay.
I mean,
but the business.
I don't know the specific regulations. I know that the zoning ordinance doesn't apply.
Lights.
So
So
if
let's
there's
follow up
another
on that.
section of our municipal code that governs how food trucks are allowed to operate, we'll have to take a look at that. It wouldn't come
In
here.
front of us,
Yeah.
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 Planning commission thing, is it?
That's right, it's
No,
not a
it
house.
wouldn't be.
So the,
Why are we talking?
darn it, so the food truck, I looked at the business license.
Did you look at the,
Business license requirements, and it says that food trucks are exempt from business licenses.
Oh, interesting.
Right.
Why would that be?
So I
So-
guess
Why are
they
we leaving that
can,
money on the table?
So where else would it be? And as you can see, there's quite a number, just even up here, who are concerned about food trucks on streets and other places. What can be done?
I mean,
And what can residents do?
you know, they could report, you know, a food truck at a location in the Comcate system, and then
That's true.
With
it,
lights,
what's that?
with lights.
With lights.
It's full of lights.
Oh,
Have
wow.
you seen it, Sean?
It's
I've seen
bright.
the one right by right next to they sell like lobster
Oh, the
or
lobster
something.
roll one?
Yeah.
Where's that?
Right on Carnelian.
Yeah.
It's
It's right by the Whole Foods
right by the
lot
Whole
right
Food
here.
shopping
Oh,
center.
Park there during the day
nice.
Yeah.
sometimes.
It's
So
not-
like
so it
behind
seems
the-
to.
No, it's right on the, you know, right
In the
as
parking
if you're
lot?
going south on PCH, you make a right on Carnelian, right?
Yeah.
And then you park before the driveway.
Yeah, they park
Or
on
right after the
Carnelian.
driveway, going into the shopping center.
Yeah.
So,
How many have you gotten from there?
so whose purview is it to enforce? You were saying earlier
Yeah.
that it's that food trucks are not allowed on the streets.
No, they're allowed on the street. They're not allowed on private, you know, to
Property.
operate business, you know, as a business on, let's say, a commercial parking lot
And,
or residential,
and,
for sure.
and what department's purview is it to address that unlawful action?
It would probably, if it's determined to be unlawful or to investigate if it is unlawful, it would be code enforcement.
So a resident then would call the police,
Or code enforcement.
code
I guess
enforcement.
that is in police now.
That's in
Yes,
police?
yes.
Okay. Otherwise, if it's a bigger problem, I think you were suggesting that, for example, that they be required to have a business license. And two, that there's one location in the city for all of these, right? How would, so that would be groups of residents petitioning and,
Yeah, that
Trying
would
to make
have to
it-
be
Maybe the
something to
city
go to the council with.
yeah,
City council.
city council. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Anybody else?
One question.
Yes,
I was
Commissioner
curious, we were, over the last several months, we've been talking about, is the Galleria project going to be coming before the Planning Commission anytime soon?
Yeah, we were ready to go, but awaiting final revised drawings that we haven't received. So we were trying to queue it up for December. We anticipate January now for that.
So doesn't their permit expire in January?
Well, I thought it
Three-year
expired in
extension?
No,
December.
that's the map, the tentative map that this body extended. But that's going next week to the city council
Extension.
to be approved as a final map. So it won't expire.
Right, because they have 1 year from the date that it was approved, and that's in December, I think, the 1 year date,
January.
or January.
Well, it was like 3 years from when.
Oh, was it? Oh.
Yeah, yes.
We
And
got
it's
a
got
3-year
until
extension on their project
January
approval.
15th or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's my recollection.
Yeah.
too.
So the city council is going to approve the plan that they haven't presented yet?
No, it's just the map, the underlying parcel split, the lot configuration.
Okay.
And it's the final map, it's the same map that they approved originally with the directions they did. It was a little bit of an anomaly. I think Galleria proposed a tentative parcel map or a tentative tract map with about 29 parcels.
Yes.
And then the direction or the approval from council was you're limited to 19 parcels. So that's what this final map shows, 19 parcels.
Originally, they were asking for like 50.
Yeah, it might have been
Oh,
many more, right.
It was basically one per acre, which made it really suspicious.
Yeah,
It was
so
a
they-
Plan B.
Anyone here knows about that?
I know Rob does.
Oh, that's to you.
That's
No,
a
it's
panic
now
button,
been
don't
6
press that.
years. Who remembers the details of what went on 6 years
Yeah,
ago?
it's
besides
pretty
me?
good.
All right.
Well, Rob probably,
We
because
have
he's
a-
way smarter.
Motion?
Motion to adjourn?
Can I make
Oh,
one suggestion?
yes.
If we can make our
Second.
motion to adjourn in the honor of someone, or is that
Yeah,
appropriate?
go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we close the meeting tonight in honor of Jack Epstein. He passed away a few weeks ago. Jack was a big supporter of everything Redondo. Any major incident you could think of that was involving zoning and helping signs, everything. So over the last 10 years, definitely a really key person in the community. He and his wife are also greatly involved in the Palos Verdes Land Conservancy. A lot of people don't realize that. And also very active in the South Bay Parkland Conservancy. So Jack was a very dear friend of many of us. I actually went to dinner with him once a month and kind of thought of him as a surrogate dad. He's a really good man, and sorry to see him go. But his wife Barb is still out there, still write letters, and she'll still be around. So I'd like to close in his honor. if
Second
we
that
can.
motion?
Who is
All in
this?
favor?
Jack Epstein.
Aye.
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 Just want to thank you, Planning Manager Scully
Yes.
and Mr. and
Thank you.
Senior Planner
thank you.
Jang.
Thank you.
Thank you. Putting up with us.
All
No,
right.
that's fine.
Thanks, you guys.
Hope we make you laugh.
Saying,
Yeah,
I
you
think
did.
that job